Chapter 1195. Immediately after, a tyrannical aura appeared in front of everyone. Without any concealment, a figure appeared. It was a middle-aged man in his 40s. His body exuded a strange, powerful, and violent aura which made people unable to look directly at him. Yi Kuai, I didn't expect that you would dare to come to us before we could find you. Yi Zhongtian squinted his eyes and said. The man in front of them was the traitor Yi Kuai. That's right, I will chop off his head and go back to claim credit. He's going to die today. He's going to be converted into contribution points for me. At this moment, the crowd burst into laughter and spoke without restraint, as if he was already going to die. No, Yi Shiwen, no, be careful. Yimo's voice suddenly said, this is too abnormal. Yi Kuai betrayed the Yi family. The most normal thing to do is to run away as soon as possible. After escaping from the human territory, he could join any force, and there would be a lot of people who would welcome him. The last thing you should do is hide in here. Although the fighting power of human warriors is suppressed here, isn't he the same? There isn't much difference in essence. Yi Shiwen suddenly became vigilant. Indeed, Yi Kuai didn't flee for his life at this time and even dared to take the initiative to appear in front of them. This was not normal at all. Ridiculous. Yi Kuai grinned and revealed a cruel smile on his face. You don't even know that you are about to die. It's really ridiculous. You actually wanted to follow me. Don't you know that I came from the Dark Hall? Don't you think that I don't know what tricks Yi family has up their sleeves? He walked forward and said confidently, do you think that I can't find you because you are colorless and odorless? Don't forget what I do. Whether it is tracking or anti-tracking, you can't catch up with me. Do you really think that I will be discovered by you? I just deliberately lured you here, and you still think that you are proud of yourself? It's really ridiculous. Yi Zhongtian and the others finally realized that something was wrong, but Yi Zhongtian didn't care too much about it. His formidable strength had given him such confidence. So, what if you lured us here on purpose? You're just trapped in your own trap. As a traitor, not only did you not run away, you even dared to lure us here on purpose. It seems that this is your destiny. This is your destiny, Yi Zhongtian said confidently. Yi Kuai was indeed powerful, but he was not an ordinary person. Moreover, he had so many powerful warriors to help him. It would not be a problem to keep him here. Getting caught in a web of my own making? You guys are looking down on me? Yi Kuai. Yi Kuai sneered. With a wave of his hand, dozens of human heads appeared in the sky. You! Yi Zhongtian's eyes were wide open. These are the heads of the Dark Hall's experts. You actually, at this time, everyone looked over. Indeed, among these heads, there were some that they had met before. All of them were enraged. The Law Enforcement Hall and the Dark Hall had been competing in the dark for many years. However, they belonged to the Yi family after all. They were also of the same clan. So, how could they not be angry when they saw that the Dark Hall's experts had been killed by Yi Kuai? Yes, those idiots from the Dark Hall. I have to say that your Law Enforcement Hall is not as professional as the Dark Hall in this aspect. They found me much earlier than you did. But it's useless. They're just throwing away their lives. Yi Kuai sneered and said. He suddenly clenched his fist, and the dozens of human heads in the sky exploded on the spot. Don't worry. You'll soon meet them in the underworld. And at this time, Yi Kuai suddenly took a step forward and took the lead in charging towards these people. If it had been someone else, then he would have scolded them for being stupid. But this Yi Kuai was obviously not stupid, but he was truly tyrannical. He spread out his big hand and shrouded everyone. It was simply shocking. Everyone be careful. This is our Yi family's famous Golden Saint origin hand. Yi Zhongtian quickly shouted. At this time, Yi Kuai's big hand was instantly covered with golden light. It was as if his entire arm was made of gold. One claw was enough to break the world. At this time, a big saber appeared in Yi Zhongtian's hand. The saber began to emit a violent buzzing sound. Countless principles were intertwined and entangled on its surface. The aura of the saber instantly swept out, affecting the emotions of everyone present. Everyone fell into a state of remorse. This is Regretless Saber? It's a good saber technique. However, it's not necessarily better than people. Yi Kuai sneered and said. His gilded Saint Origin hand directly tore through the sky and grabbed towards Yi Zhongtian. At this time, he didn't care about the others at all because he knew very well that among these people, only Yi Kuai was his real opponent. The others were just small fries. As long as Yi Kuai was killed, these people would also die. Traitor, take my saber and repent. Yi Zhongtian suddenly shouted in grief and indignation. The artistic conception of the saber instantly swept out. In an instant, it made people feel as if they were on the scene. He had already cultivated the artistic conception of the regretless saber to a very high level. The saber light broke through the sky and instantly slashed towards the golden Saint Origin hand. Boom! Two extremely overbearing martial arts collided in midair, instantly causing the entire space to distort crazily. Countless demonic chi was either chopped and exploded on the spot or swept away, turning into waves of chi, blowing the clothes of the people present, making them flutter. Both sides of the battle burst back, more than 100 meters before they stopped. In terms of martial arts, there was a feeling that they were somewhat evenly matched. Kill! At this time, the others tacitly launched the formation. Their spiritual chi was pushed to the extreme. A large formation appeared out of thin air, like a cage, and instantly suppressed Yi Kuai. Break! Tear the sky with your bare hands. Yi Kuai let out a furious roar in the face of the cage that was pressing down on him. His golden hands broke through the void in an instant and smashed into the matrix. Then, the two giant hands suddenly tore open a hole in the matrix, and it exploded on the spot. Yi Shiwen didn't make a move from the beginning to the end, because he didn't know how they fought, let alone had any tacit understanding with them. Therefore, he could only wander on the edge of the battlefield, waiting for the opportunity to move and be ready to launch the most fatal blow to Yi Kuai at any time. At the moment when Yi Kuai was attracted, Yi Zhongtian began to move. His hand instantly swept out a torrent of saber light and went straight to Yi Kuai's face. Scoundrel, eat my saber again. Regret and hatred. Yi Zhongtian's face became even more distorted, and regret and resentment emerged on his face. Yi Zhongtian's speed was extremely fast, and it was a sneak attack. Almost in an instant, he had already arrived in front of Yi Kuai. No wonder Yi Zhongtian was so confident earlier. If only based on strength, he was absolutely not inferior to Yi Kuai. Coupled with the cooperation of the others, he could absolutely capture Yi Kuai on the spot, or at least kill him on the spot. Yi Kuai seemed to realize that it was too late. A killing intention flashed in his eyes, and then a drum instantly appeared between his eyebrows. Dong! A huge drum sound rang out, and in an instant, countless devil chi in the surroundings began to boil, just like boiling water, violently twisting. Those saber lights that were rushing towards Yi Kuai were actually shattered into pieces in an instant, and simply could not get close to Yi Kuai's body. Damn it, demonic tool. Why do you have a demonic tool? Did you collude with the demon race? Yi Zhongtian widened his eyes and looked at Yi Kuai in disbelief. Initially, he did not believe it, because the demon race was the enemy of all the races in the ancient Barrens continent. No matter what, the races in the ancient Barrens continent would absorb spiritual energy to cultivate. To them, devil chi was undoubtedly the dirtiest energy. If they accidentally absorbed it, they might be in danger. However, if the demon race wanted to rule the ancient Barrens continent, they had to transform the ancient Barrens continent into the same environment as the demon world. This was the most irreconcilable conflict between the two sides. Hence, if there were levels of betrayal, relying on the demon race would undoubtedly be the most despicable behavior. This drum was entirely black, and it was emitting waves of devil chi. Without a doubt, it was a demonic tool. So what if it is? How do you think they died in the past? Yi Kuai sneered. On top of his head, the demonic tool drum was constantly spinning, emitting rays of devil chi that seeped into his body. However, he did not feel the slightest bit of discomfort. The result was already very obvious. Not only did you rely on the demon race, but you also cultivated a demonic technique. You betrayed your ancestors. Yi Zhongtian glared, and said furiously, "Betrayed my ancestors? Haha, what a joke." Yi Kuai suddenly laughed out loud and said, "This ancestor, this sect, did they ever give me any benefits? Why are some people born as geniuses and can enjoy resources that far surpass us? As for us, we have to work hard and complete missions for the Yi clan with our lives. Yet, the resources we earn are nothing compared to them. No wonder there's a saying, talent determines everything. Just because they are talented, they are destined to climb above us for the rest of their lives? I'm not willing. I'm definitely not willing to continue like this. I'm also a genius, and I want to become a famous figure in the world. Do you understand this feeling? Do you?" "You're crazy," Yi Zhongtian said coldly. "If it wasn't for the Yi clan, you would have been living on the streets. Do you think you have the chance to cultivate an Earth-class technique? What a joke. Don't try to find excuses for your betrayal. You're nothing more than a traitor." Chapter 1196. Yi Shiwen shook his head. Humans were always like this. They never knew how to be content. Compared to the people outside, the people in the Yi clan were much better off than the people outside the Yi clan, no matter how miserable they were. Another greedy snake trying to swallow an elephant. TSK. Why are you talking so much to these people? In the end, it's still the same. We will kill them all. At this time, a group of experts appeared beside Yi Kuai. The black scales on their bodies glowed with a gloomy light. They were actually demons. They were different from the previous demons. The previous demons could only be regarded as creatures that grew up in the demon territory. They were completely different from these demons. The demons were hated by everyone in the entire ancient Barrens continent. They could only hide in these demon territories to escape the fate of being besieged. But when they really saw these demons appear, everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. These demons all had surging auras and exuberant lifeblood. Every one of them was a terrifying expert at the 5th level of the Dharma characteristic realm and above. The leader of the demons was a great demon that had reached the 6th level of the Dharma characteristic realm. If there was only one Yi Kuai at the 6th heaven of the Transcendence realm, then they might be able to deal with him. However, now that there was another one, it became a problem. Moreover, there were more than a dozen 5th heaven of the Transcendence realm demon experts behind them. Suddenly, everyone felt a chill from the soles of their feet to their heads. Goosebumps appeared all over their bodies. It was unbelievable that there was actually a demon ambush here. At this time, everyone finally understood why those people from the Dark Hall would die tragically in the hands of Yi Kuai. Those people from the Dark Hall were not ordinary experts. Among them, there was no lack of existences at the 6th level of the Transcendence realm. They were strong enough to contend against Yi Kuai. Originally, taking down Yi Kuai should have been in the bag. Their speed was much faster than the people from the Law Enforcement Hall. Originally, the Law Enforcement Hall wouldn't have the chance to make a move. However, they were all defeated. Originally, everyone couldn't understand why they were defeated by Yi Kuai. No matter how strong Yi Kuai was, he was just a warrior at the 6th level of the Transcendence realm. But now, they finally understood. They could completely imagine how those people from the Dark Hall had fallen into the encirclement of these people while they were completely defenseless. In the end, after fighting for a while, all of them had died tragically. Now, Yi Kuai was going to use this method on them. Thinking of this, they couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end, and they felt sad for the loss of their own kind. "Go, I'll stop them." Suddenly, Yi Zhongtian shouted out. The members of the Dark Hall had already been slaughtered. If they continued to stay, they would definitely die. Damn it, who gave us the information? He actually defected to the devil race, damn it. Bastard. After we return, we must send an expedition army to completely wipe out this demon domain. Damn it. It's already a kindness to let all of you prolong your existence. Yet not only do you not know how to be grateful, you actually dare to protect the traitor of our Yi clan. When we get back, idiots, do you think you can escape? Yi Kuai laughed hideously, not taking their words to heart. Really too naive. Yi Kuai smiled ferociously. Ever since he made this decision, he was prepared to be hunted down by the Yi clan. He suddenly hit the drum, and with a bang, the entire world seemed to be boiling. Countless demonic auras began to listen to his command and crazily crushed towards him. At this time, the experts of the devil race had also blocked the path to the outside. Go inside, we'll cross the demon domain and go out from the other side. Yi Zhongtian saw this and quickly shouted. At this time, everyone from the Yi clan rushed towards the depths of the demon domain. Of course, this was not the only exit of this demon domain. It should be said that this was just an exit. As long as they could cross the demon domain, they could go out from other places. Everyone's speed was extremely fast, and they all rushed towards the demon domain. Leave this kid who is only at the second sky of the law phase realm to me. I haven't eaten human flesh for a long time. The great demon commander at the sixth sky of the law phase realm laughed strangely and rushed towards Yishuan. Swoosh! His speed was extremely fast, and the pair of wings behind him had already rushed in front of Yishuan in an instant. He directly opened his demon claws and grabbed towards Yishuan. Yishuan's reaction was not slow at all. He directly spread out his hand and clenched his 5 fingers into a fist. Shattering Star Fist. A terrifying fist force suddenly blasted out and blasted towards the demon claws. Boom! With a terrifying collision, Yishuan was blasted away by a terrifying force on the spot. There was even a little blood at the corner of his mouth, but his body also directly flew out with the help of this huge force. Damn, where do you think you're going? Seeing that his claw didn't even kill a kid at the second sky of the law phase realm, the great demon commander suddenly became furious and directly chased after Yishuan. However, Yishuan's speed was only faster than him. The demon wings behind him suddenly spread out and instantly turned into a golden line. He instantly disappeared into the sky and directly chased after Yi Zhongtian and the others. Damn it, bastard. When I catch him, I'll definitely eat his brains raw, the great demon commander said angrily. He felt that he had lost his face in front of his subordinates, and he was abnormally depressed. At this time, Yi Kuai was not in a hurry, and said coldly, "What's the hurry? Anyway, they can't run away. Today, none of them can escape. I will refine them into human medicine to make up for my loss. When the time comes, I can directly rush into the 7th sky of the law phase realm. You all will also benefit." Yishuan would have been extremely shocked if he had seen this, because generally speaking, even if a human had surrendered to the devil race and cultivated into a human devil, their status in the devil race would still belong to the lowest group of people. Although there were some powerful people who held high positions in the devil race, but in the case of the same strength, the orthodox devil race would generally have a higher status. But in this small team, Yi Kuai actually occupied the leading position. You're right. They thought they could run away, but in fact, they jumped into the trap we set. The great demon commander was not annoyed, but just said with a smile, "Damn, if I wasn't accidentally discovered this time, I wouldn't have to escape in such a hurry. Once I leave, I'm afraid the spies we planted in the Yi family will be almost removed." Yi Kuai said with a cold expression. "Our bloodline, under the order of the great demon lord, was undercover in the Yi family. It has been passed down for so many generations, and we gradually gained the trust of the upper echelons of the Yi family. We finally had the opportunity to enter the core class, but we didn't expect to be discovered by that old guy. Because of Yi Junshin's death, that old guy is still persevering in investigating this matter, using the death of so many moths in exchange for Yi Junshin's life. Speaking of which, it is still a profit for us. It doesn't matter. Anyway, if Yi Junshan doesn't die, our clan won't be able to eat and sleep in peace. It is a great achievement to get rid of him. Now that the great demon lord finally got out of trouble, he needs to rest for a few years after returning to the demon realm. At that time, when our clan's army invades ancient times, your clan will be the royal clan of the human clan, ruling the world. Isn't it awesome?" The great demon commander said with a strange smile. At that time, the great demon lord will inevitably give a lot of benefits last time. "Don't forget about me." "Don't worry, I won't forget about you," Yi Kuai said indifferently. "But before I escaped, I heard that Yi Junshin's son actually came back. Damn it, He couldn't find the whereabouts of his son, no matter how hard he tried, leaving such a B** starred. Now when I leave the Yi family, he actually popped up. No, I have to mobilize the informants in the Yi family to find a way to get rid of this B** starred. Thinking of this, Yi Kuai suddenly had an idea and said, I'll leave this place to you. I'll go back to the demon realm first to see the great demon lord. Before, in order not to attract attention, I had to suppress my cultivation and didn't dare to improve too fast. Now I don't have to worry anymore. I have to improve my strength to the celestial being realm first, otherwise I can't do a lot of things at all. Don't worry, leave this place to me. None of these guys can escape. The great demon commander laughed strangely. Without Yi Kuai, there was one less person to compete with him for the flesh and blood essence. With so many tyrannical masters' flesh and blood essence, his cultivation could go further and step into the 7th level of the law manifestation realm. At that time, it would be a whole new realm. Yi Kuai glanced at him and knew what he was thinking, but he didn't care. When he saw the great demon lord, his cultivation could be directly promoted to the celestial being realm. A mere 7th level of the law manifestation realm was nothing. Then I'm leaving. As he said, Yi Kuai's figure had disappeared in front of the group of demons. Ha, brothers, it's time to eat. At this time, the great devil commander let out a strange cry and led many devils and devils to fly in the direction of Yi Shiwen and the others in a grandiose manner. At this time, Yi Shiwen and the others were indeed in trouble, because they found that they had fallen into a trap. On the other side of the devil's domain, there was a well-prepared array. When they had just stepped into it, they were suddenly locked in it. Damn, they had planned this long ago. A 5th level of the law manifestation realm master roared. Definitely, they had already set up a trap, waiting for us to fall into it. Damn. Yi Kuai's crime is unforgivable. He actually wanted to rely on the demon race. He can't escape death. Everyone cursed and felt very depressed. They were directly caught in a trap. Even Yi Shiwen was no exception. Moreover, he knew that when the demon race caught up, things would be even more troublesome. Chapter 1197. Just as everyone was talking about it, the whole formation began to operate. A terrifying force was rampaging in it, as if it was going to tear everyone into a mass of flesh and blood. Damn, this is not good. Everyone, protect yourselves with Zhen Yuan, lest you get torn into pieces. Yi Zhongtian was the first to react. This formation didn't seem to be very lethal and didn't have any kinds of dangerous attacks. But in fact, this was the scariest part. Because the attacks were everywhere, there was no problem of whether they could avoid it or not. Soon, they found that the tearing force was getting stronger and stronger, and the consumption of their Zhen Yuan was getting bigger and bigger. When their Zhen Yuan was exhausted, they would be torn into 2 halves on the spot. This was simply unavoidable, because this was the domain of devils, which was full of devil qi. There was no way for them to replenish the Zhen Yuan that they had lost. Even if they used spirit crystals to replenish their Zhen Yuan, it wouldn't last long. At this time, the devil race had arrived. Sure enough, these humans are simply 2-legged sheep. They are as stupid as pigs. They were fooled by such a simple thing and fell into our trap. Those devils saw that many experts of the Yi family were trapped in the trap and said in a mocking tone, Ha! That's right, stupid. They only deserve to be the blood of our race. That's right. I can't wait to enjoy the taste of their essence and blood. The devil race was laughing weirdly. Damn, these damn devils, where is Yi Kuai? Did he escape? At this time, the people of the Yi family cursed. If it was the same formation just now, they might have been able to fight to the death. But Yi Kuai was there just now, and they were all trapped in the formation without him. Everyone attack those formations. We must break this formation. At this time, someone suggested. Hearing this, everyone became spirited and attacked in all directions. Boom! Everyone attacked one after another, but they found that there was no way to break this formation. This formation barely fluctuated. There was no way to shake it. The only one who could shake the formation was Yi Zhongtian. This formation was set up by Yi Kuai and the great demon commander. Unless it was a master at the same level as them, it was impossible to shake this formation. Even if it was Yi Zhongtian, in this situation where he couldn't replenish his quintessential essence, even if he used all his quintessential essence, he still wouldn't be able to break this array formation, especially with the great demon commander eyeing him covetously from the side. Could it be that the heavens really want us to die? At this time, some people had already begun to despair. Everyone calm down. Although we are trapped in the formation, they won't be able to do anything to us for a while. All we can do is wait quietly. Now that the Dark Hall has been completely annihilated, we can't get out. It won't be long before the family members send someone to save us. Yi Zhongtian said calmly at this time. His calmness infected the others. They thought for a moment and agreed. Now, the only thing they could do was to wait for the people of Yi family to discover that they were missing and hadn't returned yet. Then, they would realize that something was wrong and come to rescue them. Yi Xuan mixed in with the others and attacked, but he wasn't as depressed as them. On the contrary, he was a bit excited because he found that this formation wasn't unbreakable. The only difference was that the strength needed to reach a certain point in order to completely break it. That was the strength needed to surpass Yi Kuai and the great demon commander. Otherwise, there would be no chance at all. Yi Zhongtian was tyrannical enough, but his quintessential essence wasn't enough to support him in breaking the formation. Eventually, he would be torn into two halves by the formation. This Machi was no different from Lingqi for him. It was no different from Lingqi. This was his biggest advantage. He finally understood why Yi Kuai wanted to lead them here. If it was outside, even if it was the same formation, because there was Lingqi to replenish it, these people could attack unscrupulously, and the effect of this formation would be greatly reduced. He could feel that a force in his body was tearing his flesh, as if it wanted to tear his flesh apart. If it was an ordinary person, they could only wait to minimize the consumption and wait as long as possible. However, Yi Xuan was different. When this force rushed into Yi Xuan's body, the divinity in his body suppressed this force. So, he didn't have to worry about being torn into pieces by this force. He sat cross-legged on the spot. At this time, if he wanted to break out, the only way was to break through to the third sky of the Transcendence Realm. Only after breaking through to the third sky of the Transcendence Realm could he obtain the strength comparable to the sixth sky of the Transcendence Realm. At that time, he could cooperate with Yi Zhongtian to have a chance to break this formation. Otherwise, there would be no chance at all. Instead of waiting for the illusory possibility of support, Yi Xuan would rather believe in himself. Only when it was in his own hands, then it was his own. He had always believed in this way, and that was why he was able to come this far. He came to Yi Zhongtian's side and said, "Protect me. Protect." Yi Zhongtian looked at Yi Xuan in shock. He was a little incredulous. Of course, he knew what Yi Xuan meant by this. Under normal circumstances, there was only one possibility that he would ask for protection, and that was when he was about to break through. Originally, if he were to break through, this was just a very normal thing. But what was not normal was that this was in the formation. Under the situation where they could be torn into pieces at any time, he actually wanted to break through. And that's right, protect me. Now, only when I break through, we can break through this formation together. If we wait for the family's rescue, God knows how long it will take. Instead of waiting for the illusory rescue, we might as well rely on ourselves. Yi Xuan said with a firm expression. If it was someone else who said this, he was afraid that he would think that person was an idiot. Generally speaking, the most taboo thing to do during cultivation was to be disturbed, especially during closed-door training. It required an absolutely quiet place to have a chance of succeeding in closed-door training. In such an environment, even a genius would not be able to succeed. However, it was Yi Xuan who said this. He might not believe in Yi Xuan's actual combat ability, but he would not deny the magic of these geniuses. Each of these geniuses was a miracle in the world, and each of them was a gift from the Creator. They were fundamentally different from ordinary people like them. Perhaps their internal structure was also different. Weren't these people always able to create miracles? Otherwise, they wouldn't be called geniuses or heavenly talents. And at this time, did he have any other choice? Yishuan's method was risky only for himself. For the others, it was undoubtedly the safest way because they did not have to personally try to break through. These people had already entered the peak of the 5th level of the law manifestation realm, and it had been a long time. In fact, it should be them who chose to break through, but they did not dare to break through in such an environment. The only way was to defend and wait for reinforcements. Now that Yi Shiwen made such a request, there was no harm for them. It was nothing more than protecting him. It was not a big deal at all. Therefore, Yi Zhongtian thought for a while and said, "If that's the case, we'll protect you. But don't force yourself. If anything goes wrong, immediately exit from the closed-door training state. We'd rather wait for the family to come and help than anything unexpected. Especially since you're a famous genius in the family. It's not worth it to lose you here." When the others heard this, although they were a little uncomfortable, they had nothing to say because they were also very clear that in the eyes of the higher-ups, all of them might not be as valuable as Yi Shiwen alone. This was a very realistic problem, and they had long recognized this reality. And Yi Shiwen nodded. Others weren't clear about it. However, he was very clear about it. He could maintain a clear and calm state of mind even in a battle as long as he had the enlightening mind ancient tree. So, there wouldn't be the slightest problem if he were to undergo closed-door training here. After getting Yi Zhongtian's assurance, Yi Shiwen immediately sat cross-legged in midair and directly entered a deep level of closed-door training. Seeing Yi Shiwen sitting cross-legged in closed-door training, the demons looked at him with some respect, especially the great demon commander. For him, it was simply a great shame that he could not catch Yi Shiwen with one claw. Among these people, the one he wanted to kill the most was Yi Shiwen. In his opinion, this was the first sign that Yi Shiwen would not be able to resist. Among these people, Yi Shiwen's martial power was the weakest, so he might be the first to succumb. He would have no choice but to meditate wholeheartedly in order to resist the tearing force of this Jin method. This seemed to be normal. This kind of demon was not in a hurry at all. If these Yi family masters were forced into a corner, they might cause damage. Now, they could use the formation to wear them all down, achieving 0 damage. Naturally, this was the best, and time also passed in such a confrontation, day by day. Soon, these demons found something wrong, because the aura of Yi Shiwen's body was actually a little stronger. Originally, they thought that he might not be able to hold on for a day, and would be torn on the spot, but after more than 2 months, there was no sign of him collapsing. On the contrary, he became stronger and stronger. One day, after more than 2 months in the originally calm formation, everyone was almost unable to hold on, and the chi in their body was also getting less and less, so that everyone had to sit cross-legged in midair to speed up the recovery of chi like Yi Shiwen. Boom! A tyrannical aura instantly rushed out from Yi Shiwen's body. Chapter 1198. Immediately after, countless demonic auras were instantly sucked in and swirled around him. His entire body was like a huge cyclone, and this cyclone swept up wildly. This movement quickly attracted the attention of the demons waiting outside. In the past 2 months, they had waited for so long. The people in the array didn't have much chi left, and the pellets that could replenish chi were almost used up. Although there were still spirit crystals, everyone knew that the spirit crystals were spiritual energy that had been purified many times. After all, it couldn't be transformed into chi immediately because there were impurities in it. Only those pellets that could replenish chi could be transformed into the needed chi immediately. They were now in a state of near death, and they could only wait quietly. There were even several times when the demons couldn't help but open the array and rush in. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that these warriors had fallen into their weakest state to kill them. Then, they wouldn't have to continue waiting for them to die slowly. However, they were all stopped by the great demon commander. Although he was ferocious, he wasn't a brainless person. These people were just turtles in a jar, and they would die at any time. There was no need to pay any price for them. After all, there weren't many demons who could come to the ancient Barons continent. In other words, one of their people dying was one less person. Even if it was 100 for one, it wasn't worth it. However, he didn't expect such a thing to happen now. The demonic aura formed a huge cyclone around him, and it surged into his body crazily. It seemed that he didn't care whether it was demonic aura or spiritual energy. A hint of anxiety flashed across the great demon commander's face. He had a bad premonition. At his level of cultivation, premonition was like a sixth sense, and it was usually very accurate. However, he couldn't let go of the humans in the array and leave. Moreover, he didn't think that Yi Shiwen would really pose any threat to him. Yi Shiwen was just a kid at the second level of the law manifestation realm. Even if he entered the third level of the law manifestation realm, he was just a stronger ant. At the same time, in the courtyard of the Liya City branch of the Yi family and Mount Chi Yi family, several family members, including Yi Junhai and Yi Junyan, had gathered in the small courtyard where Yi Shiwen was. It's been more than 2 months, but there's still no news from one. Could something have happened to him? Yi Junyan, who had a fiery temper, was the first to speak. He shuddered. He didn't dare to imagine that his second brother's only son had just returned. If something bad happened to him, how would they explain it to his second brother? Any news from the law enforcement hall? Yi Junhai glanced at Yi Mao and asked. The law enforcement hall seems to be treating this matter as a taboo, as if it's related to some secret. However, they didn't say that second brother has been born, so it shouldn't be that bad. Yi Mao comforted him. Everyone nodded slightly at this time. At this time, no news was also the best news. It was much better than sudden bad news. They didn't know what kind of task Yi Shiwen had accepted. Originally, they thought that Yi Shiwen had just accepted an ordinary task. With his strength, completing an ordinary task wouldn't be difficult at all. So, there was nothing to worry about in the beginning. However, as time passed, there was still no news from Yi Shiwen. This made them a little anxious. Even if they went to ask the law enforcement hall also treated this matter as a taboo. In other words, there were some things that they shouldn't know. Tomorrow is the ancestral worship ceremony. If it doesn't work, we'll wait for the ancestral worship ceremony. Then, we'll go all out to find winner. Yi Junhai said. Yi Junyan's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness when he heard this. Perhaps they had sunk into depravity for too long. It had been so long that they might spend the rest of their lives like this. But now, for the sake of their only son, they had to do something even if they didn't want to. Mao, go and get ready. Tomorrow, you'll represent our Liya City branch family in the battle. I originally wanted one to fight. With his strength, he should be able to stand out in the ancestral worship ceremony. But now, there's no news at all. So, I can only let you fight, said Yi Junhai. Although the battle in the ancestral worship ceremony was free to register, generally speaking, regardless of whether it was the main family or the branch family, they had to send their own representatives to participate. These representatives were often the elites of the main family and the various branch families. For example, Yi Mao had basically entered the law manifestation realm. Among the younger generation, he was also one of the elites. Originally, it was decided that Yi Shiwen would represent the Liya City branch family in the battle. Now, Yi Mao had to participate. Yi Mao didn't hesitate at all. After all, he represented the Liya City branch family in the previous few battles. At that time, his strength was far from the law manifestation realm. He wasn't even eye-catching among the transcendent realm experts. He was eliminated within 2 rounds. Because the Liya City branch family had just been established not many years ago, it wasn't like the other branch families. There were experts of all ages among the younger generation. So, every time, the participants were the elites of the younger generation who were at least in the law manifestation realm. This was Yi Mao's first time participating in the Yi family's ancestral worship ceremony as a law manifestation realm expert. In this regard, Yi Kai and Yi Qiao did not have any objections. They were only at the half-step transcendence realm. For a large number of young warriors, they were naturally considered elites. However, compared to the elites who could come to participate in the ancestral worship ceremony, they were still not enough. They knew very well that they did not want to participate. On the other side, Yi Shiwen's aura was getting stronger and stronger as he sat cross-legged above the array. The uneasy expression on the demon clan's faces became more and more serious. Boom! A golden blood aura soared into the sky, instantly dispersing the demon aura entrenched on the surface of Yi Shiwen's body. Yi Shiwen slowly opened his eyes. Stars seemed to be born and extinguished in his eyes. It was incomparably deep. Ah! Yi Shiwen let out a long roar. Countless divinities on his body were boiling. It directly shook off the demon aura, forming waves of demon aura that spread in all directions. The momentum was terrifying. Not good. I don't know what method this little bastard used. It's actually so shocking. Remove the array and kill him. At this time, the great demon commander seemed to have finally realized that something was wrong. At this time, these devils finally realized that something was wrong. So, they hurriedly removed the array formation. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that Yi Shiwen hadn't completed his amazing transformation to kill him. A hint of sharpness flashed in Yi Shiwen's eyes. Originally, he wanted to join forces with Yi Zhongtian to break this array. Now, it seemed that there was no need at all. He looked at Yi Zhongtian on the side. At this time, although he was slightly better than the others, he was actually not much better. For more than 2 months, he had to constantly use his qi to resist the tearing force. It had already made his body very weak. If this continued, even a kid at the first level of the law manifestation realm could easily kill him. Among these people, only Yi Shiwen, who could absorb demon aura like spiritual aura, was not affected at all. On the contrary, with the help of the demon aura, he broke into the 3rd level of the law manifestation realm in one fell swoop in the past 2 months. But now it was just right. The array was removed, saving him a lot of effort. Damn human, I don't care what tricks you have up your sleeves. Go to hell. At this time, a demon at the 5th level of the law manifestation realm had already rushed in front of Yi Shiwen. There was a grin on his face. At this time, he seemed to be able to see the scene of Yi Shiwen being blown up on the spot. As for the people next to him, they didn't even have time to rescue him because they found that there was not much qi left in their bodies. More than 2 months had worn down their sharpness, and their reaction was far from as fast as before. Courting death. Yi Shiwen snorted coldly. He turned into a ball of golden light and directly rushed toward the demon. Bang! The devil at the 5th level of the law phase realm exploded on the spot and turned into a cloud of blood mist. The Tianyuan mirror absorbed the blood mist and transformed it into profound qi, which poured into Yi Shiwen's body. He only felt that his strength had become more tyrannical. His foundation and realm, which were originally not very stable, suddenly became much more stable. These demons had encountered him and the Tianyuan mirror. It was basically equivalent to meeting their nemesis. Damn it! At this time, those demons saw that one of their companions was so easily killed by Yi Shiwen. Suddenly, their expressions changed drastically. They finally realized that the guy in front of them seemed to have completed the transformation and became abnormally terrifying. However, several demons at the 5th level of the law manifestation realm wanted to escape, but it was too late. Because of inertia, they had already rushed in front of Yi Shiwen. Bang! 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 Yi Shiwen attacked like a storm. In an instant, these demons who could not stop in time and rushed over were blown up on the spot. These demons at the 5th level of the law manifestation realm were not his opponent at all. Even when he was only at the 2nd level of the law manifestation realm, Yi Shiwen was only afraid of the great demon commander. As for the others, he did not care at all, not to mention that he had now entered the 3rd level of the law manifestation realm. Amazing, this is the power of a top genius. Those Yi family's law manifestation realm experts quickly took advantage of the time when the array was removed to recover their qi. Without the power of the array tearing them apart, it was much easier for them to recover. Chapter 1199. They were super experts at the law manifestation realm, and the quintessential essence in their bodies was as thick as the Yellow River. Under normal circumstances, it was difficult to exhaust their quintessential essence no matter how much it consumed. Moreover, their recovery speed was very fast. In just a moment, they had recovered a small portion of their quintessential essence. Unless it was a big move, it was difficult to exhaust their quintessential essence. They were shocked to see that Yi Shiwen had slaughtered those devils who were as strong as them, just like slaughtering chickens and dogs. At this time, they truly understood why some people were heaven's pride experts, and some people could only be ordinary people. It would be very difficult for them to deal with any one of them if they were in Yi Shiwen's place. In fact, they could only be regarded as evenly matched. However, they were no different from ants in Yi Shiwen's hands. Damn humans! At this time, the great demon commander was furious. Not only did he fail to kill Yi Shiwen, but he also slaughtered a few of his subordinates who were at the fifth heaven of the law manifestation realm. This was something he didn't expect. Although he had a bad temper, he was definitely not a brainless person since he was sent to the ancient barons as a spy. He knew very well that it wasn't easy for him to replenish his strength in the ancient barons. Hence, he would rather choose to let these people die slowly than to make a move directly. This was to prevent too many casualties. Who knew that there would be so many casualties in one go? Even when he besieged the Dark Hall previously, there weren't so many casualties. He immediately roared and pounced towards Yi Shiwen. His body seemed slow, but it was actually fast. In just a moment, he had already pounced in front of Yi Shiwen. Countless fist shadows appeared in the sky and completely sealed Yi Shiwen's surroundings, forcing him to face it head-on. Although this great demon commander had a bad temper, his attack was already unexpectedly powerful. Or rather, it could be said that he had experienced hundreds of battles and was far more powerful than Yi Shiwen's original estimation. If it was against the previous Yi Shiwen, perhaps this move could directly force him into a dead end. This was because there was no space for him to escape. There was no way to retreat. Regardless of which direction he went, it was useless. He couldn't escape at all. However, Yi Shiwen wasn't afraid of confronting him head-on. He clenched his 5 fingers into a fist, drew a huge star, and suddenly punched. Countless violent auras burst out from his body in an instant. Everything around him was dyed into a world of stars and universe. He stood in the universe like the only true god in this universe. The entire universe was about to be dominated by him. Boom! Yi Shiwen's Big Bang Stardust Fist instantly blasted down. The stars illuminated the entire universe, creating a torrent that instantly broke through those torrents and blasted towards the great devil commander. Damn it! How can he be so powerful? At this moment, the great demon commander suddenly had a bad premonition and sensed great danger. He pushed off with the tip of his toes and flapped his wings crazily. His figure suddenly moved horizontally. However, Yi Shiwen didn't intend to let him go. He rushed towards his position once again. The radiance of the shattered star fist illuminated the entire void. Damn it! How can he be so tyrannical? The great demon commander retreated all the way. He constantly blasted out various demonic techniques, trying to block Yi Shiwen's fist pressure. However, he found that he couldn't stop Yi Shiwen's shattered star fist at all. The great devil commander saw that Yi Shiwen wasn't going to give up, so he immediately clenched his teeth. The fleshy wings on his back constantly flapped, and he instantly condensed a seal in his hand. Then, an innumerable amount of magic power started to boil inside his body. Demonic domination of the world. His fists suddenly blasted out, and a mighty torrent of martial arts covered the vast sky. It fiercely collided with Yi Shiwen's Big Bang Stardust Fist. Boom! The collision between the two sides instantly swept out a terrifying energy frenzy from the point of collision, and swept in all directions crazily. It was as if a universe had just exploded and was just born. I've never heard of a human like you. I've never seen a warrior at the 3rd level of the law manifestation realm who can actually compete with me. Unfortunately, you're only at the 3rd level of the law manifestation realm. If you're at the 6th level of the law manifestation realm, you can definitely kill me with one punch. The great demon commander blocked all of Yi Shiwen's attacks. The star power explosion couldn't hurt his tyrannical demonic body. Yi Shiwen's only weakness was seen through by the great demon commander in an instant. Indeed, as he imagined, Yi Shiwen's biggest weakness was his realm. If he could step into the 6th level of the law manifestation realm, then these ferocious demons would just be like ants in his eyes. They wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow and wouldn't be a match for him. However, it could only be regarded as a conjecture. But it's more than enough to kill you. At this time, Yishuin sneered. He took a step forward and slammed his palm directly towards the great demon commander. A terrifying power was boiling in it. Arrogant. The great demon commander snorted coldly at this time. He took a big step forward and didn't retreat at all. He directly faced Yishuin and blasted out a punch. Countless demon martial arts that he knew were integrated into it. It was almost as if the entire demon realm would descend with this punch. Boom! The two terrifying martial arts collided in the air, directly causing a series of crazy explosions. It directly forced the surrounding demon experts and Yi family experts to retreat frantically. There was no way to resist this terrifying power. Everyone, let's kill all the other demons while Yishuin is holding back the great demon commander. Don't let a single one of them go. At this time, Yi Zhongtian shouted. With Yishuin holding back these demons for them, they had almost recovered in the blink of an eye. Of course, there was no way to replenish the elixirs that they had consumed previously. For them, it was already worth celebrating to be able to escape. What else could they ask for? Although they had not fully recovered, with Yi Zhongtian, a terrifying expert in the sixth heaven of the law manifestation realm, it could be said that they were like a ferocious tiger coming down the mountain. They directly rushed into the demon clan. With Yi Zhongtian as the arrowhead, the demon clan was directly routed, and several of them were killed in a face-to-face attack. Although there were many demons on the side, they were not a match at all. A large number of them were annihilated when they came into contact with the attack. Damn it, bastard! The great devil commander was furious when he saw the experts of the Yi clan wantonly slaughtering his subordinates. These were his elite troops, and also the most fundamental strength for him to compete with the other devils. But now, they were being wantonly slaughtered. For him, it was simply a great humiliation. However, under Yishuin's obstruction, there was no way for him to get close at all. He could only watch his subordinates being slaughtered. Damn it! How did you become so strong? The great demon commander was a little regretful at this time. He was simply nurturing a tiger and inviting calamity. One must know that before, Yishuin was not a match for him at all. Although he could not defeat Yishuin in a hurry, it was actually not a big deal. It was just a matter of time. However, who knew that after more than 2 months, Yishuin would become so tyrannical? He actually had a breakthrough. Under such circumstances, it was already very impressive for an ordinary person to not be torn into pieces, let alone a breakthrough. In his opinion, this was simply impossible. However, Yishuin did it. This was something he could not imagine, and now it was too late for regrets. However, he obviously forgot that Yi Zhongtian was there before. In the case of the absence of Yi Kuahai's cooperation, even if he wanted to kill his way into the formation, it would be impossible. In the end, the only possibility was that both sides would suffer. Today will be the day you die. Yishuin sneered. All of them would become the nourishment for Tianyuan Mirror. Tianyuan Mirror would need a lot of blood essence if it wanted to advance into a top-level, earth-level divine tool. Naturally, the blood essence of the devil race would be the best. As he spoke, Yishuin took a step forward. In the air, he directly grabbed a dragon claw with the great dragon capture technique and directly grabbed the great demon commander. Damn it! The great demon commander cursed and directly faced it. He did not know how someone could be so tyrannical. With the cultivation of the third sky of the law manifestation realm, Yishuin could actually suppress him, a master of the sixth sky of the law manifestation realm. However, at this time, there was no other way. Boom! 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 Both sides fought. The more Yishuin fought, the stronger he became. After breaking through to the third sky of the law manifestation realm, the original realm barrier no longer existed, and the improvement of his strength was no longer an obstacle. On the contrary, the great demon commander was getting weaker. Although the great demon commander was considered a group of cannon fodder in the entire devil world, although they were one of the 8 major royal clans, they were also the most cannon fodder. That was not to say that the great demon commander was too weak, but there were too many of them, so they could only exist as cannon fodder. Among the great demon commander, there were also noble aristocrats. To be precise, they were the 8 major royal clans. Although the other great demon commanders were also in the same clan, they obviously did not enjoy the benefits of the 8 major royal clans. And he was the aristocrat among the great demon clan. He was born with a very tyrannical physical body, and he had received countless training. At a young age, his cultivation was already tyrannical. He had always been very confident in his physical body, but he was facing Yi Shiwen, who had the tyrant body. Yi Shiwen's every palm could directly shake his entire arm to the point of numbness. The entire battle was completely at a disadvantage. Chapter 1200. Yi Shiwen's tyrannical physique reminded him of the terrifying races in the Devil Domain that were known for their physical strength. Yi Shiwen was stronger than them. Most importantly, Yi Shiwen was only at the 3rd level of the Law Manifestation realm. He should have been the one being suppressed, but now the situation was completely reversed. "You're defeated," Yi Shiwen shouted and clenched his fist. He suddenly blasted out a terrifying torrent of star power, which directly overturned the Demon Lord. The great Demon Lord had no way to avoid it, so he could only face it head-on. Boom! An incomparably terrifying collision sound was heard, and an unparalleled terrifying force swept out in an instant. Crack! A crisp sound was accompanied by a blood-curdling screech of that great Devil Commander. That great Devil Commander's entire arm was completely shattered by Yi Shiwen's vibration, and it softly fell down. Yi Shiwen attacked with all his strength, and the terrifying force directly broke one of the Demon Lord's arms. He screamed and frantically fled backward while holding onto his arm. But how could Yi Shiwen give him a chance to escape? He instantly kicked the Demon Lord's spine. Bang! The spine that ran through his entire body was immediately broken by Yi Shiwen's kick. Although his spine was as hard as steel, but how could it be compared to Yi Shiwen's strength? Yi Shiwen's current strength was so terrifying that even a mountain range could be directly kicked into powder by him, let alone a spine. The spine was the place that connected the brain to the whole body. The consequences of breaking it could be imagined. He was directly paralyzed on the spot, and he fell directly to the ground with a bang, smashing a big hole. How could this be? I can't accept it. I can't accept it. At this time, the great Demon Lord roared in disbelief. At this time, the relationship between the two sides, between the hunter and the prey, was suddenly reversed. Originally, he had been able to play with Yi Shiwen and the others like mice. He had chased them into the Genere like stray dogs. However, in the blink of an eye, this mouse had turned into a man-eating tiger. His original position as the hunter had suddenly turned into that of the prey. What's there to be unwilling about? You're really stupid. Yi Shiwen sneered and said, "You probably never thought that you would fall into my hands." The great demon commander looked at Yi Shiwen in horror. That's right, the person he looked down on the most was Yi Shiwen, or rather, he did not take Yi Shiwen seriously at all. The only person he was truly afraid of was Yi Zhongtian, who was also at the 6th level of the Law Phase realm. However, he didn't expect that Yi Zhongtian didn't really cause any harm to him. Instead, it was this kid who he had never really taken seriously who gave him a fatal blow. A bloody light flew out from Yi Shiwen's body, and a simple and unadorned mirror instantly blossomed with a brilliant bloody light. An evil aura instantly swept out and enveloped the great Devil Commander. Soon, the great Demon Commander issued a burst of blood-curdling screams, and then turned into a mass of blood mist, which was then absorbed by the Tianyuan mirror. After absorbing this mass of blood essence, the Tianyuan mirror divided a part of the blood essence into Qi essence and entered Yi Shiwen's body. The rest was completely absorbed by the mirror, and the entire mirror emitted bursts of bloody light. Yi Shiwen closed his eyes and digested the essence of the great Demon Commander's blood essence. He was only at the 3rd level of the Transcendence Realm. Although his combat power was comparable to the 6th level of the Transcendence Realm, it couldn't change the fact that he was only at the 3rd level of the Transcendence Realm. Even if only a small part of the great blood essence of the sixth level of the law phase realm was absorbed by him, it was still a great harvest for him. He could feel that his cultivation had taken a big step forward, and he was not far from reaching the peak of the third level of the law phase realm again. He was suddenly in a good mood. At this time, Yi Zhongqian and the others had also completed the encirclement of the demons and demons. At this time, they looked at Yi Shiwen with a slightly complicated expression. Of course, they could see that the simple and unadorned mirror was probably not a righteous magic weapon. After all, who had heard of a righteous magic weapon that could absorb humans' blood essence? However, they didn't care about it. After all, they weren't the kind of righteous moralists. They would do anything in order to complete their tasks. Who didn't know one or two demonic techniques that could be used at critical times? Therefore, they weren't very concerned about this matter. The only troublesome thing was that it might be related to the demon race. The demonic aura was dense. In the ancient Barons continent, using demonic martial arts and magic weapons wasn't a big deal. However, if it was related to the demon race, it would still be somewhat troublesome. Although there might not be people who would make a fuss about it, once someone did, it might be a big problem. However, Yi Shiwen had just saved them. At this time, they naturally wouldn't say anything. They just pretended that they didn't see it. Yi Shiwen naturally knew that the Tianyuan mirror was exposed, but only a little. They might not even know the attributes of the Tianyuan mirror, so they didn't care at all. Yi Shiwen, no matter what this time, we are indebted to you for saving our lives. If you have any requests in the future, just let us know. Yi Zhongtian said at this time, cupping his hands. Yi Shiwen was originally very important in his eyes. A kid at the second level of the Transcendence Realm was able to contend with a genius at the fifth level of the Transcendence Realm. He couldn't help but look down on Yi Shiwen, but it was different this time. After killing the demon at the sixth level of the Transcendence Realm, he faintly regarded Yi Shiwen as an equal existence, or even an existence that was a level higher than him. At least, he was very clear that although they were both at the sixth level of the Law Manifestation Realm, in the eyes of the higher-ups, their statuses were worlds apart. Yi Shiwen might still need his help now, but in the future, he might not even be qualified to look up to Yi Shiwen. There was no harm in making a good relationship now. The masters of the Yi family behind him were not unconvinced at this time. Originally, they might still be unconvinced of Yi Shiwen, the genius, and always felt that he was nothing great. But now, after this incident, they couldn't help but admit that perhaps these geniuses could stand out from thousands of people because they were indeed outstanding. Yes, if you need anything in the future, just let us know. We won't hesitate to go through fire and water. If we can do it in the future, we won't hesitate to help. Everyone said one after another. Yi Shiwen saved their lives, and it was also a fact. These people were not so complicated, and they were clear about right and wrong. It's just a piece of cake. You don't have to be so polite, Yi Shiwen said with a wave of his hand. Well, if that's the case, let's hurry back to avoid trouble. Now that we lost Yi Kuai, this matter must be reported to the higher-ups. Also, whether we should send troops to destroy this devil's territory is also a problem. We can't delay for a moment, Yi Zhongtian said. Maybe there will be a Heaven Realm expert who will personally deal with it. Then, we won't be needed anymore. They had allowed Yi Kuai to escape, and even the Dark Hall had suffered losses. However, that did not mean that this was the end of the matter. On the contrary, this was just the beginning. Only this matter now involved the Demon Clan. Thus, it was not something that they could handle. It was likely that Sky Human Stage experts would have to personally take action. It should be known that Heaven Realm experts were different from Law Manifestation experts. Even in the entire ancient Barons continent, Heaven Realm experts were considered influential figures. Any Heaven Realm expert would receive sufficient respect in any force. Other than the legendary gods, they were the group of people closest to gods. In this era, where gods didn't appear, they were the group of people who dominated the entire ancient Barons continent. If a Heaven Realm expert really took action, then this matter really wasn't something they could interfere with. Yi Shiwen was also very clear that the experts who surpassed the Law Manifestation realm were in the Heaven Realm. As the name suggested, they had truly achieved the realm of being one with the world. If the transcendent realm was said to be the beginning of touching the laws of the world and using the laws to train their body, then the law manifestation realm was said to use the laws of the world that they had comprehended to weave a small world that belonged to them. In this small world, they were the gods. As for being one with the world, it was to directly fuse with the heaven's way. Every action of the heaven's way would be imbued with the heaven's way's might. It would be able to utilize the might of the world to attack you. As such, in front of a true heaven realm expert, a law manifestation expert wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. To put it in simpler terms, if the heaven's way was a group company, then once you reach the transcendent realm, you would begin to understand the various departments of the company. What's the business, the composition of the personnel, and so on, would be thoroughly understood. These were the laws that they had to comprehend. After reaching the law manifestation realm, when you understood the composition of the company, the group company would authorize you to establish a subsidiary company that belonged to you. It would simulate the company's operations and practice how to operate the company. When a person could completely understand how the company operated, he would have already reached the pinnacle of the law manifestation realm. When he took another step further and entered the heaven realm, it would be like being transferred from the subsidiary company to the head office. By then, he would be able to borrow the head office's power for every action. In the past, the competitors of the subsidiary company wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from the head office's power. They would be easily crushed into powder. In the past, it could only be considered as using the heaven's ways laws to increase the power of one's martial arts. It could only cater to the rules of the heaven's ways laws. However, after ascending to the heaven realm, one could borrow the power of the heaven's way to defeat any enemies that went against him. Chapter 1201. The Yi clan's once-in-a-century ancestral worship ceremony had finally begun. For the entire Yi clan, the ancestral worship ceremony was a grand event that was hard to come by in 100 years. All the distant branch families had also sent their own representatives to attend the ceremony. In an instant, the entire Yi clan was bustling with noise and excitement. Apart from the distant branch families, many other powerful forces had also sent their own representatives to attend the ceremony. There were countless experts among the crowd. The Yi clan had a long history. Apart from a few members of the Yi clan who had delved into the Yi clan's history, most of the Yi clan members had no idea when the Yi clan was born and when it began to flourish. However, the Yi clan's long history was widely acknowledged by everyone. The entire ancestral worship ceremony followed the rituals passed down from ancient times. The current patriarch of the Yi clan was in charge of the various rituals. Apart from honoring their ancestors, they also had to offer sacrifices to the heavens. For example, during the Yi clan's ancestral worship ceremony, the competition between the younger generation would officially begin after the ritual was completed in the morning. This competition between the younger generation was not only used to select the best of the younger generation, but it also served as a hidden warning to the other powerful forces. The strength of the younger generation was directly related to the future prosperity of the force. It might not be seen in a short period of time, but if the younger generation of a force were to be wiped out, then it could lead to a broken generation. This was a terrifying thing for a long-established force. The strength of the younger generation was directly related to the future prosperity of the force. It might not be seen in a short period of time, but if the younger generation of a force were to be wiped out, then it could lead to a broken generation. This was a very terrifying thing for a force with a long history. The competition during the Yi clan's ancestral worship ceremony was also a way to tell the others that the Yi clan had many experts among the younger generation. The Yi clan was flourishing now, and in the foreseeable future, the Yi clan would continue to flourish. Those who had designs on the Yi clan should give up as soon as possible. Many forces were well aware of the Yi clan's hidden warning and intention to flaunt, so they were well aware of it. However, they did not pay much attention to it, because they would do the same if they were in the Yi clan's position. In other words, powerful forces like them would not easily choose to fight each other, because if they did, both sides would suffer great losses. It was like two ferocious tigers bumping into each other, warning each other from time to time. At this time, Yi Mao, Yi Kai, and Yi Qiao were anxiously waiting near the registration point for the tournament. Yi Junhai and Yi Junyan, as the representatives of the Liya City branch family, had already entered the spectator seats. At this time, only they were still here. The competition was about to begin, but there was still no trace of Yi Shiwen's whereabouts. In addition to a portion of the representatives selected by the branch families and the main families to participate in the competition as seeded players, other people were also free to register. And the registration time was during the memorial ceremony in the morning. If they missed it, then they would not be able to participate in this competition. Yi Mao was participating as a representative of Luoya City branch family. His name had already been reported, so there was no need to continue to register. However, Yi Shiwen did not have the status of a representative of Luoya City branch family. If he wanted to participate, then he must register himself. Moreover, Yi Mao was more worried about Yi Shiwen's safety compared to this time's competition. It didn't matter if Yi Shiwen didn't participate in this competition. In any case, it wasn't a big deal for him to participate in the next competition. But if there was a problem with Yi Shiwen's safety, then for them, it would be a real earth-shattering event. In this regard, not only were they very worried, but Yi Junhai and Yi Junyan were also very worried because Yi Shiwen was their brother's only bloodline in this world. If he still didn't appear after this ancestral worship ceremony, then the two brothers would have to use some connections to find him. They absolutely couldn't let anything happen to him. Why hasn't second brother come yet? Did something really happen to him? At this time, Yi Qiao pouted and said, "Don't talk nonsense, second brother is a good man. Heaven helps him. How could anything happen to him?" Yi Mao quickly said, "I didn't say anything happened to second brother, just in case." Yi Qiao said with some grievances, but she also understood why her elder brother was so nervous. During this time, the entire Liya City's branch family had been nervous because of Yi Shiwen's matter. It was because he had been away for too long. It was normal for him to go out for a mission for a few months, or even for a year or two. However, before Yi Shiwen had left, he had only said that it might take a few days. At the latest, he would be back in half a month. It wasn't a very long task. He had even said that he would come back to participate in this year's competition. Who knew that he would be gone for 3 months, and there was no news at all? This made them very nervous. And more importantly, when they went to the law enforcement hall to ask about Yi Shiwen's mission, the law enforcement hall was also hesitant. It seemed as if they couldn't say anything. This made them even more anxious. Seeing that the deadline was slowly approaching, the three people began to become more and more anxious. "Where is Yi Shiwen?" At this time, a slightly cold voice came from the side. The three people turned their heads and looked. They saw a young man in a luxurious robe walking towards them with big strides. He had an aura that ordinary people couldn't match. Yi Xing. Yi Mao recognized the identity of the person in front of him. On the one hand, Yi Xing was also famous during this time. He was already very famous before, but now he was even more famous. Another reason was that he also heard that Yi Shiwen and Yi Xing seemed to have some conflicts. This was also inadvertently mentioned by Yi Fan before, which made him nervous. Now that Yi Shiwen was not here, this Yi Xing came to the door, which made him nervous all of a sudden. Did he come to look for trouble? Yi Xing simply ignored the three people in front of him. He only knew that the three people in front of him seemed to be Yi Shiwen's brothers and sisters. Such people were not in his eyes at all. If it weren't for his relationship with Yi Shiwen, he might not even look at these three people. He might not even understand them. Where is Yi Shiwen? Why didn't I see him? Yi Xing's eyes glanced around, and there was no sign of Yi Shiwen. This made him a little surprised. This time, he specially came out to participate in this competition. In addition to being amazing in the competition, he also wanted to get rid of Yi Shiwen completely. Yi Shiwen crippled Jia Gu Zhenghao. Even though he was still in closed-door training, he still heard about this matter. It suddenly made him feel indignant. This kind of limelight should have been done by him. Who was Yi Shiwen? He didn't know where did Yi Shiwen's bloodline come from. Yi Shiwen was a bastard who had been wandering outside for many years. What qualifications did he have to be compared with him? Previously, he passed the martial essence tower. He originally wanted to become famous in one fell swoop. who knew that Yi Fan and Yi Shiwen's results would completely suppress him. Compared to the results of these two people, his results were nothing. Later, it became even worse. He was taken to closed-door training. Yi Fan first defeated many opponents and quickly became famous. Yi Shiwen completely became famous in the Yi clan with the battle with Jiagu Zhenghao. This battle alone was enough for him to be ranked among the Yi clan's young heaven's pride. It was dazzling. For a time, everyone was talking about him crazily. Not to mention a new rising star like him. Even Yi Shui, Yi Yuling, and other veteran geniuses were overshadowed by him. This made him even more unhappy. In this competition, he must suppress all the outstanding heroes and especially defeat, or even kill, Yi Shiwen. Only then would he be able to vent the hatred in his heart. Let them see who was the #1 genius of the Yi family in the end. It wasn't Yi Shui, Yi Qinglong, Yi Feng, or Yi Shiwen. Moreover, it wasn't Yi Shiwen who had come out of nowhere. It was him, Yi Xing. He was fully deserving of the Yi clan's #1 genius. Now that he had received key training, his future was limitless. But who knew? Until now, he did not see Yi Shiwen appear. It was as if Yi Shiwen had disappeared. This made him extremely unhappy. This was the battle where he was about to become famous in the Yi clan. If there was no one with enough weight as a stepping stone, how could he show his strength? If he could not completely trample Yi Shiwen under his feet, how could he eliminate the hatred in his heart? Therefore, when he saw that the registration deadline was approaching, but Yi Shiwen had not appeared yet, he could not help but deign to come to these three people. He is not here now. Yi Mao did not know what to say now, so he could only say in a deep voice, "Not here? Could it be that he is afraid?" Yi Xing sneered and said, in his opinion, perhaps this was the only reason. Otherwise, how could Yi Shiwen give up such a good opportunity to become famous in the competition? In his heart, the only obsession was to be famous in the world. Nothing was more important than this. Whether it was breaking through the martial essence tower or preparing to win the championship in the competition, it was all for this purpose. What's more, if he could win the championship, the training and benefits from the family's higher-ups were also indispensable. He didn't believe that Yi Shiwen wouldn't be tempted by such a great opportunity to gain both fame and fortune. So, if he didn't show up, then the only explanation was that he was afraid. In the end, he didn't know where this poor boy came from. How could he be compared with him? I heard that he crippled Jiagu Zhenghao's martial arts. He is actually so proud of himself. He is just a piece of trash. It's good that he didn't participate this time. Otherwise, if he met me, I would let him know that he will always be a piece of trash and can't be compared to me. Yi Xing said coldly. Is that so? A cold voice came from a distance. Chapter 1202. Is that so? A cold voice came from afar. Accompanied by this cold voice, a cyan figure gradually approached from afar. Soon, everyone saw this person, but it was not Yi Shiwen. So who else could it be? Yi Shiwen was dressed in a cyan robe, and he was far less gorgeous than Yi Xing, but he had a kind of temperament that couldn't be ignored. Yi Shiwen, Yi Xing gritted his teeth and said. With the appearance of Yi Shiwen, Yi Xing immediately ignored the existence of other people and fiercely stared at Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen directly walked past him, as if he did not see him at all, and walked to the front of the elder in charge of registration and said, "Count me in." The elder in charge of registration looked at Yi Shiwen deeply and then wrote his name on the list. "You finally appeared. I thought you would be a coward." Yi Xing sneered and looked at Yi Shiwen. "Even if you are a coward, I won't," Yi Shiwen indifferently said, and then simply ignored Yi Xing and directly walked towards Yi Mao and the other two. They were originally very worried about Yi Shiwen and thought that something might have happened to him, but now that they saw him in front of everyone, safe and sound, they were naturally very excited. "Sorry for making you worried." Yi Shiwen was also very clear that he had disappeared for 3 months, and they were very worried about him. It's okay, it's okay. Being able to come back safe and sound is better than anything else. Yi Mao grinned and said. Seeing that Yi Shiwen had come back, their hearts suddenly calmed down. Yi Shiwen smiled. and a warm feeling flowed in his heart. Although the Luya City branch family was not very powerful, and there were only a few people in total, but it was enough to have these family members who cared about him, and that was much better than being in the Luya City branch family. The Yi family had thousands of branches, but not all of them were as harmonious as the Luya City branch family. "You can still smile now?" Yi Xing sneered and said, "I hope you can still smile when you meet me." Yi Xing certainly didn't think that Yi Shiwen would be inexplicably eliminated midway with his strength. Although he had absolute confidence that he could defeat Yi Shiwen, it didn't mean that he would underestimate Yi Shiwen. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to overestimate someone who could cripple Jiagu Jinghao. However, no matter how he overestimated himself, he had absolute confidence in himself. Most geniuses were like this as well. If they didn't have this sort of confidence, it would be utterly impossible for them to reach their current level. Yi Shiwen just smiled and didn't argue with him because it was meaningless. Yi Xing saw that Yi Shiwen didn't seem to care about him at all, and suddenly felt that he was asking for a snub. He could only angrily leave, and vowed that if he saw Yi Shiwen again in the arena, he would certainly teach him a profound lesson. "Second brother, you're finally back." Father and third uncle have been worried to death these days. After Yi Xing left, Yi Qiao couldn't wait to step forward and say, "Sorry, there was an accident." Yi Shiwen somewhat embarrassedly scratched his head and said, in the face of this concerned sister of his, he didn't have much to say. "All right, let's not talk about it for now. It's about to begin." Yi Mao stopped Yi Qiao from continuing to ask because he knew very well that Yi Shiwen must have had a reason for disappearing during this period. Moreover, he was afraid that it wasn't anything good, so it was useless to ask now. Just as they were speaking, the entire sky was filled with the sound of a huge bell ringing. Everyone knew that the battle of the ancestral worship ceremony was about to begin. The location of the ancestral worship ceremony this time around was within the guest city. However, it wasn't in the main space, but in a small dimension within the guest city. To be able to specially open up such a small plain as a venue for the battle, it was evident how profound the Yi family's heritage was. However, this was also in consideration of the huge destructive power that could be produced during the battle. Although these were only the warriors of the Yi family's younger generation, the weakest among them was at least a half step to the Law Phase realm. Almost all of the seeded contestants were experts at the Law Phase realm and above. The destructive power of such experts was absolutely unimaginable, unless they wanted to completely destroy the Qi Mountain area. Otherwise, choosing a small plain was the most suitable method. When Yi Shiwen entered this small plain, he found that the entire plain was already filled with countless experts of the younger generation. Countless experts of the younger generation had gathered in this world. Their auras collided with each other and swept through the sky. Looking from afar, it was already very shocking. Yi Mao, Yi Kai, Yi Qiao, and the others had already entered the audience seats. Although Yi Mao also had to participate in the battle, he was a seeded contestant, so he didn't need to participate in the first few rounds. Although it was only an internal battle of the Yi family, the number of people who signed up exceeded 1 million. More than 1 million of them were young experts at the half-step to the Law Phase realm and above. This was enough to show the Yi family's deep heritage. These people had to be constantly screened, so it naturally took a long time. As for those who were selected by the branch families and the main families, they naturally didn't have to go through these cruel auditions and could directly enter the later battles. This was also a protection measure for the geniuses. In any place, the strong had special privileges, and the geniuses were the strong experts of the younger generation, so naturally, they also had special privileges. Boom! A huge aura swept over in an instant. Countless spiritual qi began to condense into a specific form by a mysterious force. It turned out to be a magic sword. Everyone looked at it in a daze. The form of the spiritual qi was the manifestation of the laws he had comprehended. Generally speaking, it would be very difficult for people like them to see the manifestation of laws. Even if they could succeed, it would mostly be in the form of strips. However, after reaching the heaven tier, the manifestation of these laws would take on various forms. Some might be cauldrons, some might be blades, some might be worlds, and so on. Each of them would be different. Therefore, from the moment the magic swords appeared, everyone knew that this was a terrifying expert of the heaven tier. Only an expert of the heaven tier could create such a scene. No, even many heaven realm experts couldn't achieve this level of degree. That majestic figure was blurred in everyone's eyes. They couldn't even look directly at his face, because all they could see was a mass of nothingness. They couldn't see his face at all. Experts of the heaven realm had already integrated with the heavenly way. Just like merging with the laws that ordinary people couldn't see, they also couldn't see his face unless he wanted to, or if he had reached a similar level of power. However, although they couldn't see his face clearly, many people still recognized him immediately. That's the Lord Patriarch. It's the Lord Patriarch. It's the Lord Patriarch. Because of their different origins, there were also differences in the way these people were addressed. Those who were called Lord Patriarch were experts of the main Yi family, and those who were called Lord Patriarch were experts of the various branch families. Obviously, compared to the experts of the main Yi family, they were a bit distant. I didn't expect the Lord Patriarch to personally come this time. In the past, the Lord Patriarch would not personally come to the competition. It seems at this time, he is especially serious. Someone said with emotion. Although the ancestral worship ceremony was a very important event in the Yi family, and as the Lord Patriarch, he had to attend, the competition was not. This was just a side event. At this time, someone thought, if I perform well, and when the time comes, if I can be valued by the Lord Patriarch, won't I be able to reach the sky in a single step and have a meteoric rise? Someone said with disdain, meteoric rise? Don't even think about it. How is that possible? The Lord Patriarch has not accepted a disciple for a very long time. Even those top geniuses are not worthy of his attention, let alone you. Indeed, in the eyes of everyone, no matter what kind of geniuses, they couldn't compare to their Lord Patriarch. There would always be many geniuses every few hundred years, but among these people, there might not be a person like the Lord Patriarch in a generation. That was the difference. In the future, I will definitely replace him. In the future, it must be like this. A real man should be like this. Some people were abnormally shocked, but there were even more people who were ambitious and made up their minds to replace the Lord Patriarch in the future. Of course, these people were the best among the younger generation. In their respective branch families or main families, they were all top figures. They were broad-minded and ambitious, who didn't want to reach the peak. In the Yi family, the Lord Patriarch was undoubtedly the most powerful and honorable figure. Countless people would pay attention to his every move. In the Yi family's territory, he was no different from an emperor. Yi Shiwen's gaze was firmly fixed on the figure of the Lord Patriarch in the sky. Even in the entire ancient Barrens continent, the Lord Patriarch of the Yi family was one of the top figures. In the ancient Barrens continent, he was a powerful figure that could shake the world with just a shake. The powerful fluctuations coming from his body made Yi Shiwen apprehensive. These fluctuations made him feel a kind of terror from the bottom of his heart. If this person was his enemy, then perhaps he would only need a little finger to pinch him to death. Although he had the devil's wings on his back and also had the gilded tyrant form, but he couldn't maintain them all the time. If he encountered such a master, then it would be an unsolvable death problem. Fortunately, this person wasn't their enemy, but the Lord Patriarch of the Yi family. However, his thoughts were different from the others. He didn't want to submit to him, nor did he want to replace him. Instead, he treated him as a milestone. In the future, he would be someone to surpass and not someone to compare with. Under the influence of Yi Mo, Yi Shiwen's vision was countless times broader than ordinary people. Naturally, he wouldn't think that this was already the peak. This was just a goal in his life. Chapter 1203. The horrifying aura of the Yi clan head even startled Yi Mo, who was sleeping in the Tianyuan mirror. So strong! Yi Mo looked at the figure of the Yi clan head in the sky and said, I'm afraid he has already cultivated divinity. Not far away, not far away. After saying that, he immediately fell into a deep sleep. Now that the Tianyuan mirror was in the process of upgrading to the pinnacle Earth level, even if it woke up, it would only be a temporary awakening. The aura of Yi clan's patriarch was very terrifying. Even if Yi Shiwen had ascended to the celestial realm, he would not be able to deal with such an expert. Perhaps Yi clan's patriarch had already stepped into the peak of the celestial realm. In addition, in the depths of the pocket world, there were layers upon layers of half-planes. Some of the auras were as powerful as those of gods. Some of them were experts from the major forces who had come to watch the ceremony. There were also many experts from the Yi family. These were a group of people who had unimaginable power in the entire ancient Barrens continent. Even if they were not as powerful as the Yi clan head, they were still rare, fierce experts. But no matter what, regardless of whether they were tyrannical or weak in the heaven realm, to the current Yi Shiwen, they were extremely powerful existences. They were no different from gods, existences who could poke him to death with one finger. Heaven realm, unity of heaven and man. This was the goal of the countless elites present. If they could step into the heaven realm, their entire lives would undergo a fundamental change. From an insignificant person, they would become a great figure that could influence the situation of the entire ancient Barrens continent. Countless bright gazes fell on these young elites of the Yi clan, as if they could see through their heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. Among these gazes, Yi Shiwen also felt a lot of cold gazes. Some landed in the area where the foreign experts were seated, while some landed in the area where the Yi clan experts were seated. Yi Shiwen knew that the experts of the Jiegu clan were looking at him from the gazes of the foreign experts. He had crippled Jiegu Zhenghao. So, it would be strange if the experts of the Jiegu clan found him pleasing to the eye. In the area where the experts of the Yi family were seated, those cold and hostile gazes should be the big shots of the Yi family who were hostile to him. Yi Shiwen restrained his mind. In the face of these big shots of celestial being realm, he was simply like an ant, without any power to fight back. Now, the only way was to rely on those big shots of celestial being realm who might support him to resist. However, the patriarch of the Yi family didn't let them wait for long. He paused for a moment and said, "Everyone!" His voice stirred up waves of sound, instantly annihilating all other sounds. At this moment, it was as if only this dazzling figure was left in the entire world. Everyone was captivated, whether it was those who had surrendered before or those ambitious geniuses of the younger generation who had vowed to replace them. They could only listen quietly at this time. Everyone here is the best among the younger generation of the Yi family. All of you are geniuses born to uphold the spirit of heaven and earth. The reason why we chose to hold this competition during the ancestral worship ceremony is to select the real, peerless geniuses among you. At that time, we will do our best to cultivate them. I hope that everyone will do their best to strive for the best. I believe that many of the elders of the Yi family are very perceptive. As long as you perform well, you will definitely not be buried," said the patriarch of the Yi family loudly. This time, it proves that our main family does not hesitate to cultivate geniuses. The reward for the first place will be the 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pill. What? 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pill. What's that? This time the higher-ups are very generous. They even took out the 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pill. Oh my god, I must win this time. Whoever dares to block my way will die without a burial place. All of a sudden, everyone burst into an uproar, like boiling water. Everyone was boiling with excitement. They were completely moved by the 9 Revolutions mysterious golden elixir. 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pill? What's that? Some people were not quite sure what the 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pill was. The 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Elixir is the treasure of the Yi clan. It is said that the patriarch of the Yi clan once obtained a kind of heaven-grade elixir in an ancient relic. It is said that the 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Elixir was refined by a deity in ancient times. After taking it, it can increase the chance of breaking into the celestial being realm by as much as 50%. Moreover, it is said that if one can completely digest its huge medicinal power, even in the entire celestial being realm, one's cultivation progress will be 10 times, or even 100 times faster than that of an ordinary person. It is really a heaven-defying divine pill. However, it is said that only 9 revolutions Taishan golden pills have been found. Including those given to peerless geniuses in the past thousands of years, there are only 3 left. Now, they actually took one out as the prize for this competition. It is really unexpected. They could not help but be excited. After all, the geniuses of the Yi family were like carps crossing the river. There were countless experts who were half a step to the celestial realm, let alone juniors like them. Even among these people, no one could obtain the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill. Only those peerless geniuses who were so dazzling that they overshadowed all the experts of the same generation could be rewarded by the higher-ups. Because this kind of medicinal pill was found in a relic by the patriarch, there was no refining method. Even if the Yi family was willing to spend countless heaven and earth treasures to refine it, it was useless. That was because there was no pill formula for such a pill. In other words, there was no method to concoct it. In the long river of time, there were countless glorious pills. However, all of them had been lost. It was as though they had disappeared along with the countless gods. Even if it was a kind of heaven-grade medicinal pill, it was still very precious for these people. Because this 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill could not only increase the probability of breaking through to the celestial realm, but more importantly, if an expert in the celestial realm swallowed it, his cultivation would also improve by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. In other words, even among the experts in the celestial realm of the Yi family, there were probably a large number of experts who coveted this 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill. They were really lucky to be able to use it as a reward. Compared to this 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill, the previous rewards were like **T. At this time, everyone's attention had been attracted by the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill. Even the rewards for the second and third places mentioned by the Yi family head were not interested at all. Indeed, the rewards for the second and third places were very generous, but compared to the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill for the first place, it was like floating clouds. With the excitement of the reward for the first place, who would be willing to fall behind to the second or third place? Obtaining the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill was equivalent to having 1 foot in the celestial realm. Throughout the history of those who had obtained the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill, there had never been a person who had not entered the celestial realm. It was no wonder that everyone was so excited. Even Yi Shiwen was no exception. He had to obtain this 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill. Unlike others, he was very clear that if he were to undergo the tribulation, the celestial realm tribulation would be a very terrifying tribulation. If he had the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill, his success rate would be increased by 50%. In addition to his previous preparations, breaking into the celestial realm would be almost 100% certain. Many of the things he did were more risky, but it was also because he had no other choice. In fact, if he could play it safe, who would not want to play it safe? In order to steadily enter the celestial realm, he had to obtain the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill. Although he had just entered the law manifestation realm, it was necessary to prepare for a rainy day. The 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill is mine. Whoever dares to compete with me will die. The 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill? It's tailor-made for me. This year, those geniuses are not participating, so it's a great opportunity for me. With the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill, even if I swallow it now, I can quickly catch up with those geniuses and gain the attention of the higher-ups. At this time, in the vast crowd, Yi Xing looked at the excited crowd and said with a sneer, "What a fool. They don't know that this 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill can only be obtained by me." Many people were very glad that Yi Shui and the others did not participate this year. Otherwise, even if they were ambitious, they knew that it would have nothing to do with them. The appearance of the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill excited not only the top experts of the younger generation, but also many experts located in the depths of the micro-worlds. This time, the Yi family is really generous. They actually used the 9 revolutions Taishan golden pill as a reward. Even I will be excited when I see the 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pill. That's right, but it's a pity that it's going to benefit the younger generation. These people are all young, and many of them are not qualified to have such a divine pill. I don't know what the family head is thinking. Many experts of the Yi family were also dissatisfied. If the Yi family still had a lot of 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pills, it would not be a big deal. However, there were only 3 left, and now they had to give one to these people. In other words, their chances of obtaining the 9 Revolutions Taishian Golden Pill were reduced. Naturally, they were very dissatisfied. However, the family head of the Yi family had already decided. With the supreme prestige of the family head, they naturally could not be questioned. Yi Shiwen could feel that the aura of these people around him had risen to a whole new level. Their killing intention had also been exuded by a lot. If it was said that many people were planning to work without putting in any effort, then now everyone was desperately fighting for the first place. Even if many people knew that they didn't have much of a chance, but even if there was a slim chance, they wouldn't let it go. Chapter 1204. The patriarch of the Yi family also talked about the rewards for the other rankings of this battle, as well as some rules and so on. However, there wasn't much difference. With the Yi family's family head's order, the ancestral worshipping ceremonies competition was about to begin. In this small world, there were countless half-planes that served as the battlefields for both sides to fight. Ordinary arenas wouldn't be able to withstand the battles between law manifestation realm experts. Only a small world could bear it. Furthermore, these battlefields had been strengthened countless times over countless years. It was unknown how many geniuses had risen to fame in a single battle and how many had fallen from then on. There were even many who had fallen in these battlefields. Everyone relied on their waste tokens to enter different small worlds. Yi Shiwen's first opponent was just a very ordinary half-step law manifestation intermediate. After seeing Yi Shiwen, he quickly confirmed that Yi Shiwen had already ascended to the law manifestation realm. He immediately raised his hand and admitted defeat, feeling a little depressed. Yi Shiwen didn't make things difficult for him and let him leave. These people were different from Yi Shiwen and the others who were determined to obtain first place. Although these people were considered elites in the Yi family, there were still countless geniuses above them. Below them, there were still many people who were struggling in the transcendent realm. As the saying goes, those who are better than 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 them. They didn't expect to obtain first place. After all, it was impossible for them to obtain first place even if they were to enter the top 10,000. Their thoughts were also very simple. They didn't want to pass one round. As long as they passed one round, they would be able to obtain a certain amount of family contribution points. Moreover, as they continued to fight, the contribution points they obtained would almost double. The more they passed, the more benefits they would obtain. It wasn't just contribution points. For Yi Shiwen, these things didn't matter. He only had one goal, which was to win the championship and obtain the 9 Revolutions Taishin Golden Pill. With Yi Shiwen's strength, he quickly passed through 10 rounds in a row. Although there were some opponents who wanted to stubbornly resist, but in the face of Yi Shiwen's tyrannical strength, they seemed to be so vulnerable. Some of them had already entered the law phase realm, but compared to Yi Shiwen, they were not enough at all. Even if there was a warrior at the second level of the law phase realm who was in the same realm as Yi Shiwen, he was not Yi Shiwen's match. Are you Yi Shiwen? An ice-cold voice came from afar when Yi Shiwen once again stepped into another arena. Not far away, a green-clothed man was standing with his hands crossed behind his back. He had a conceited look on his face. He looked at Yi Shiwen coldly and said, "I've just heard of your name, but it's useless. Now that you've met me, all your previous achievements will become my stepping stone." This green-clothed man had a resolute face, and his words were unusually confident. His body was surging with energy, and he was actually another existence at the 5th heaven of the Transcendence Realm. Although he had just stepped into the 5th heaven of the Transcendence Realm, with his strength, he could be called a genius. Yi Shiwen understood. No wonder this green-clothed man dared to go against him. Even though he knew of Yi Shiwen's achievements, he still did not take Yi Shiwen seriously. He was actually another existence at the fifth heaven of the Transcendence realm. He was definitely a terrifying master comparable to Yi Xing and the others a few months ago. It was just that Yi Shiwen had never heard of his name before. It seemed that he was another genius who had been secretly cultivated and had suddenly emerged. There were many such people in the Yi family. From time to time, there would be one or two of them, just like Yi Xing. If he had not suddenly emerged, how many people would have thought that he was also of the Yi family's bloodline? There was a somewhat proud expression on his face. It was not easy for him to be allowed to leave the mountain. He wanted to be in the limelight at the Yi family's ancestral worship ceremony and establish his reputation as a genius in one fell swoop. From then on, he would be valued and cultivated by the higher-ups, allowing his cultivation to improve at a faster speed. Yi Shiwen had a great reputation. Although he had heard that Yi Shiwen had crippled Jiagu Jinghao, he had not actually seen Jiagu Jinghao. He had only heard that Jiagu Jinghao was also at the fifth heaven of the Transcendence realm. Being able to defeat Jiagu Jinghao did not mean that Yi Shiwen could defeat him. He was still very confident in himself. Otherwise, he would not have wanted to amaze the world at this ancestral worship ceremony. I'm different from you. You're just a nobody. Even if I defeat you, there is nothing to be happy about. Since the other party came with ill intentions, Yi Shiwen did not want to be polite anymore. Yi Shiwen, don't be too arrogant. I am a peerless genius. I have only cultivated for 800 years, and I have already entered the fifth heaven of the Transcendence realm. Who do you think you are? You're just a bastard who wandered outside. What qualifications do you have to be compared with the geniuses of our main family? Today, I, Yi Qing, will show you how ignorant you were in the past. Don't think that you are qualified to be so arrogant in front of me just because you defeated a guy from another clan. At this time, the cyan-clothed man spread out his hand, and a treasure sword appeared in his hand. Buzz! There was a sudden clanging sound, and many tyrannical sword auras were emitted all at once. It was as if a sword could destroy the world. This sword of his was purely sword intent. There were no other messy things mixed in it. A sword was just a sword. He was just a pure sword cultivator. With a sword in hand, the world was mine. He had absolute confidence in himself. So what if his opponents were those famous geniuses? He believed that he could defeat these people and reach the top. Whoosh! The sword light instantly covered the sky, and a loud clanging sound pierced through the world. The body of the sword shook violently. This sword of his instantly pierced a huge hole in the entire world. Martial battling Heaven's sword, he shouted loudly, and the sword light almost annihilated Yi Shiwen's entire body. It was a secret technique inherited from his master's sect, and it instantly made the entire microcosm of the competition seethe. At this time, many people cast their eyes on Yi Shiwen's arena. Although he wasn't one of the seeded players, he was far more eye-catching than those seeded players. Even if he didn't have a seat and directly advanced to the next round, he was still much more dazzling than many seeded players. He also received much more attention than them. After all, even among the seeded players, there were very few who could compete with him, especially in the case that Yi Shui and the others did not participate in this martial arts conference. Many people were suddenly stunned by this sword, especially those higher-ups of the Yi clan in the layers of void. Some of them had a slight change of expression as they recognized the origin of this martial battling heaven sword. This old guy is not dead yet. He is the disciple taught by him. I'm afraid this Yi Shiwen will be in some trouble. Yi Qing's cultivation is also above him, and he has cultivated the martial battling heaven sword, a martial art created purely for fighting. In the case of the same level, even I dare not say that I can win easily. Another ancient legacy. It is said that this martial astral heavenly sword faction will only recruit one disciple from the Yi family in every generation. However, in the end, the disciple will become an unprecedented expert in the Tao of the sword. Only it has been a long time since I heard any news about them. I had assumed that the old man had passed away somewhere. Unexpectedly, another successor has appeared. I don't know if this sword can be blocked. If it can't be blocked, it is tantamount to a dead end. If the momentum is seized by him, then it is basically hopeless. Everyone was discussing. Ordinary people were shocked by the power of this martial battling heaven sword. Those higher-ups obviously knew the origin of this martial battling heaven sword, so they were even more shocked. What a powerful sword technique! Yi Shiwen squinted his eyes. He himself also had a part of sword technique inheritance. It was the sword technique that was forcibly copied in the demon commander's tomb with a mysterious space. However, it was essentially just a copy and imitation. His sword technique cultivation was also limited to this. The power of his buried sword technique was also first class, but even so, he was still not a sword cultivator. He would not be controlled by sword techniques. However, it did not mean that he had no vision. Among the friends he knew in the past, many were masters with tyrannical sword technique cultivation. For example, the Netherworld sect's Mu Ling's Netherworld swordsmanship was a sword technique cultivated with the help of the legendary Netherworld. It was still very mysterious. Another example was Jian Wushuang. His sword technique was even sharper. However, compared with these, this martial battling heaven sword was not inferior at all. In fact, it was even more ferocious. The sword technique was like its name. This sword technique was simply a martial art created for fighting. There was no retreat. It was purely to fight the world and sweep the invincible. No wonder he was confident that even after knowing that Yi Shiwen defeated Jiagu Zhenghao and even crippled him, he still dared to challenge Yi Shiwen. With the tyrannical attack power of the sword cultivator, even if he encountered a master at the fifth heaven of law manifestation realm, he still had the power to fight. It was absolutely not to be underestimated. However, if it was Yi Shiwen a few months ago, he would probably have to fight a hard battle. For the current him, these could not threaten him at all. Dang! Yi Shiwen did not dodge, nor did he retreat. He just raised his hand to meet the attack. The sword light slashed on his palm. There was a dang sound of metal colliding. The sword light on his palm caused a burst of sparks. The divinity covering his palm was distorted, but the sword light still could not break through his divinity and slashed on his body. What? How could this be? Yi Qing's pupils suddenly shrank, as if he saw the most incredible thing. Chapter 1205. What? How could this be? He couldn't believe it. Sword Cultivator itself was famous for its tyrannical attack power, not to mention his martial battling heavenly sword, which was a martial art created specifically for combat. Among sword cultivators, its attack power was also famous for being tyrannical. It was normal if he couldn't seriously injure Yi Shiwen in one move. After all, Yi Shiwen had a record of crippling Jiagu Zhenghao. He didn't believe that such a person would be weak. Even so, he had absolute confidence in himself at that time. No matter what kind of genius it was, no one would be his opponent. But he never expected that his attack couldn't even break Yi Shiwen's defense. This was also a huge shock for him. Yi Shiwen spread out his big hand, and the sword light raged wildly in his hand. It struggled, but it couldn't escape from Yi Shiwen's hand. It was like a naughty child. As Yi Shiwen's palm grasped he long bit by bit. These sword lights were also crushed bit by bit. Oh my god! I thought the martial battling heavenly sword would cause a lot of trouble for Yi Shiwen. I didn't expect that even his defense couldn't be broken. What kind of martial art does Yi Shiwen cultivate? How can it be so powerful? It's really hard to imagine that the successor of each generation of the martial battling heavenly sword is an amazing master. The sword technique of the successor of each generation of the martial battling heavenly sword can be unprecedented. This generation is not bad, but it was easily broken by Yi Shiwen's hands. Countless people were completely shocked by Yi Shiwen's move. If it was just a simple break, it would be nothing, but Yi Shiwen simply grasped and destroyed the sword light. Everyone knew that it was not that the sword light of the martial battling heavenly sword was not powerful, but Yi Shiwen's physical body was too strong. He could actually grasp and destroy the sword light of the martial battling heavenly sword with his bare hands. Therefore, many people were extremely curious about Yi Shiwen. Who the hell was he? Didn't you say that you would teach me a lesson? Only at this level? Yi Shiwen sneered. What martial battling heavenly sword? It's just so. Damn, don't you dare insult our martial battling heavenly sword. Yi Qing was furious. The sword light in his hand once again tore through the vast sky and chopped down towards Yi Shiwen's head. Everywhere it passed, countless air exploded and formed a large vacuum. Looking from afar, it seemed as if large tracts of air had collapsed, and the scene was extremely shocking. "This is the end," Yi Shiwen shouted loudly. He was no longer in the mood to play with him. He simply blasted out a punch. This punch seemed slow, but was actually very fast. In an instant, it had already collided with the incoming sword light. Kara, Kara, Kara. A sound similar to the shattering of a crystal was heard. Those overwhelming sword lights were shattered on the spot. They couldn't stop Yi Shiwen's advance at all. Yi Shiwen's fist was like a hot knife through butter. It directly broke through all his defenses on the spot and fiercely landed on his chest. Bang! With a muffled sound, Yi Qing was sent flying by the punch. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The token on his body shattered, and he turned into a stream of light on the spot, leaving the arena. Yi Shiwen didn't hesitate and directly stepped out of the arena. This Yi Shiwen is so strong. It was said that he crippled Jiagu Zhenghao. This matter doesn't seem to be nonsense, and there is no opportunism. It should be true. Strictly speaking, he only used one move. With just one move, he defeated the successor of the martial combat Heavenly Sword faction. If that old guy knew about it, wouldn't he immediately fly into a rage and crawl out of his closed-door training place? It's a pity that such a talent was snatched by those guys from the law enforcement hall. If he joins us, his future will be even more limitless. In the area where the foreign clan masters were seated, several masters revealed a bit of killing intent towards Yi Shiwen's figure below. Damn it, this Yi Shiwen is indeed an extraordinary genius. The more such geniuses grow up, the bigger the problem will be for our clan. A celestial being realm master of the Jiagu clan squinted his eyes and said, killing intent flashed and condensed in his eyes. Jiagu Zhenghao is a heaven's pride of our clan. He actually dared to cripple his martial arts. This is equivalent to provoking the dignity of our clan. This kind of person must be eliminated as soon as possible, said the experts of the Jiagu clan in a cold voice. The news of Jiagu Zhenghao being crippled by Yi Shiwen had spread like wildfire. They even felt that the experts of other forces were looking at them with ridicule in their eyes. It's a pity that the old guy from the Yi clan law enforcement hall, Yi Jintian, is simply a stubborn old man. He will definitely do everything possible to protect this kid. As long as he is still in the Yi clan, we have no chance at all. A Jiagu clan master said hatefully. Will he be a coward for the rest of his life? There will always be a chance for us to catch him. At that time, we will make him beg for death. They were full of hostility. Even though they had reached the level of celestial being realm, ordinary things could no longer cause any change in their emotions. Obviously, this was not an ordinary thing. A potential future genius was also a threat to them. The Yi clan held such a competition and even invited them to participate. Of course, they had the purpose of demonstrating. However, didn't they come to observe these people in advance? Perhaps these people still looked very immature and could not even cause too much trouble to them. However, they had to admit that they had extraordinary potential. No one knew how far they could go in the future. In fact, weren't they one of those people back then? Looking down on these people was equivalent to looking down on themselves. The potential of these people must not be underestimated. Perhaps another world-shaking master was growing up. After defeating Yi Qing, Yi Shiwen quickly became the focus of everyone's attention, especially those who knew about the inheritance of the martial combat Heavenly Sword sect. They looked at Yi Shiwen in shock. However, he did not rest for long. A new round of battles quickly began. Since there were millions of people who had signed up, the schedule of these battles was very tight. Otherwise, it was unknown how long it would take. At the same time, it was also a very big test for these young elites' endurance and combat effectiveness. Soon, the seeded contestants who were still watching the battle went down to compete. The experts who could survive 1 or 2 rounds of the early stage of the half-step law phase realm had all been eliminated. Even the weakest ones were only experts in the late stage of the half-step law phase realm. However, for Yi Shiwen, these differences were not very big. No matter what kind of enemy he encountered, he could kill them all. In the next few rounds, he also encountered a seated contestant sent by the Branch family, but he was only at the second level of Law Manifestation Realm. He was not Yi Shiwen's opponent at all. Not to mention combat power, even his realm was not as high as the current Yi Shiwen. Naturally, he was not Yi Shiwen's opponent. He was easily defeated by Yi Shiwen, but there were no more masters like Yi Qing. However, thinking about it, even among the millions of people, Yi Qing's strength could be regarded as outstanding. If he did not encounter Yi Shiwen in advance, it would not be a problem for him to break into the top 10 easily. Even if Yi Shui and the others also participated, Yi Qing still had the strength to fight against them. However, he encountered Yi Shiwen. In terms of strength, Yi Shiwen had a fundamental change compared to 3 months ago. If he encountered the Yi Shiwen from 3 months ago, he could easily defeat him without any suspense. When Yi Qing encountered him, it was equivalent to meeting his nemesis, which was why he was defeated so easily. If it were anyone else, they would not be Yi Shiwen's opponent. Soon, the millions of people were almost eliminated, which meant that there were less than 5,000 people left. However, the remaining people were the elites among the elites. These millions of people were the elites of the younger generation of the Yi family, and these 5,000 people were undoubtedly the elites among them. The degree of the elites could be imagined. Yi Shiwen easily defeated a master at the second level of Law Manifestation Realm. In this regard, the people watching the battle outside were already numb. It was no longer strange for Yi Shiwen to defeat his opponent. On the contrary, if he failed, it would really make people's glasses fall to the ground. Unknowingly, people had already completed a psychological change. They no longer thought of him as a dark horse, because a dark horse usually represented the unexpected. However, with his strength, everyone now unanimously thought highly of him. So naturally, there was no such thing as a dark horse. After a while, Yi Shiwen saw Yi Mao stumbling out of the space. His body was covered with wounds, and it was obvious that he had been seriously injured in the previous battle. However, he was not sent out by the white light, so he should not have been defeated. Yi Shiwen quickly went forward and said, "Big brother, are you okay?" "I'm fine. I just met a tenacious opponent." Yi Mao grinned and said, "But in the end, I was still better and defeated him. But with my injuries, I should not be able to survive the next round." Yi Mao said, "Don't talk about it first. Let me help you heal." Yi Shiwen spread one hand behind Yi Mao. Immediately afterward, Yi Mao only felt a warm flow directly from behind into his body, and there was a faint sound of a phoenix. He was surprised to find that the wounds on his body were actually healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, the injuries on his body had actually recovered by 70 to 80%. He suddenly looked at Yi Shiwen with a little surprise. He did not expect this mysterious second brother to have such an outstanding healing technique. However, before he could ask, Yi Shiwen's voice came from behind, saying, "Big brother, you are now at the peak of the first level of Law Manifestation Realm. This battle will only benefit you and not harm you. Why not take this opportunity to rush into the second level of Law Manifestation Realm in one fell swoop? This way, you can also go further." Chapter 1206. For him, who was only at the first level of the Transcendence Realm, he had already exhausted his strength to make it this far. If Yi Shiwen did not treat him, he would have to give up in advance in the next round. Even if Yi Shiwen treated him, he would definitely not be able to make it through the next round. This was because the remaining experts were basically above the second level of the Transcendence Realm. It was not easy for him, a first level of the Transcendence Realm, to make it this far. If he wanted to make it through a few more rounds, breaking through to the second level of the Transcendence Realm was the only way. Yi Mao thought for a moment and suddenly nodded. He could feel a vigorous power flowing through his body from behind and knew that it was Yi Shiwen's Jin Yuan. However, The strange thing was that Yi Shiwen Jinyuan was completely absorbed by his body, without the slightest trace of rejection. Yi Mao's Jinyuan was completely absorbed by him. He had been at the first level of the Transcendence Realm for a long time. Originally, he wanted to wait until the end of this ancestral worship ceremony before he considered breaking through. He wanted to break through safely. He was not like Yi Shiwen, who often did not have a safe environment for him to break through. Breaking through in battle was a common thing for Yi Shiwen. For Yi Mao, this was still very rare. However, now that Yi Shiwen was personally guarding him and under the watchful eyes of many higher-ups, the effect was actually no different from finding a place to cultivate in seclusion. He was also a decisive person. Since he had already made up his mind, he did not hesitate anymore. He sat cross-legged and began to break through. Originally, he was not far away from breaking through. Moreover, Yi Shiwen was constantly instilling vigorous Jinyuan into his body from behind. He originally thought that Yi Shiwen could at most help him at the beginning. Who knew that Yi Shiwen did not show any signs of qi exhaustion at all? On the contrary, it was still continuously transferring into his body. Although Yi Shiwen's cultivation level was higher than his, but this Jinyuan was too vigorous. He was worried that Yi Shiwen would try to show off, but seeing that Yi Shiwen's Jinyuan was stable and vigorous, and there was no sign of it being forced, he felt relieved. However, he didn't know that Yi Shiwen's real elemental energy was much more vigorous than that of ordinary people after cultivating the tyrant body. Moreover, after integrating the Star Beast bloodline, his real elemental energy was 10 times or more than that of ordinary people. Now that Yi Shiwen had stepped into the third heaven of the Transcendence Realm, it was not a problem for him to support such a transfer of qi. Very quickly, with Yi Shiwen's support, Yi Mao's cultivation rose at lightning speed. He skipped many of the preparation processes and rushed to the second sky of the Transcendence Realm on the spot. After another quarter of an hour or so, Yi Mao, who had Yi Shiwen's continuous support, immediately exploded with a tyrannical aura. He directly crossed the barrier of the second heaven of the Transcendence Realm and rushed into the second heaven of the Transcendence Realm. Yi Mao was delighted to find that not only did he directly rush into the second heaven of the Transcendence Realm, but he also directly rushed to the peak of the second heaven of the Transcendence Realm. He could even touch the barrier of the third heaven of the Transcendence Realm. And all of this was thanks to Yi Shiwen's blessing. However, at this time, he was somewhat worried about Yi Shiwen's recovery. He was afraid that Yi Shiwen was forcefully holding on, which would affect his next battle. "Are you okay?" Yi Mao asked with concern. Compared to Yi Shiwen, he felt that there was nothing wrong with him. Anyway, rushing into the second heaven of the Transcendence Realm was only a matter of time. However, if it affected Yi Shiwen, it would not be good. No matter how hard he tried, with his strength, he could only rush a few more rounds. However, Yi Shiwen had the possibility of winning the championship. If he caused Yi Shiwen to be eliminated early because of him, not to mention his father and third uncle, even he himself would not forgive himself. "It's okay, it's just a small matter." Yi Shiwen's face was not red, and his heart was not beating fast. He still looked like his qi was surging, and he was in peak condition. For him, who had the Phoenix regeneration technique, this was not a difficult thing at all. Almost at the same time as he was constantly transferring qi, it was also constantly being produced to replenish his body. There was almost no loss at all. Of course, he would not say this, but Yi Mao saw that he was fine and did not look like he was struggling, so he was relieved. "If I let you be eliminated because of me, then I will be guilty," said Yi Mao. "Big brother, you must be joking. This consumption is simply a drop in the bucket for me, and these people are just like chickens and dogs to me. I don't have to worry at all. Even if I am not in my best condition, I can easily defeat them," said Yi Shiwen with a smile. "If that's the case, then that's good." Yi Mao did not doubt him and nodded immediately. Because of the great increase in strength, he was suddenly full of confidence. Soon, it was his turn to fight, and he immediately stepped into the arena. Yi Shiwen also waited for a while, and when it was his turn again, he also stepped into the arena directly. This time, his opponent was a master at the fourth heaven of the Transcendence Realm. Even if he was not as good as Yi Xing and the others, the difference was not very big. At this time, when he saw Yi Shiwen, he was also unusually arrogant. Yi Shiwen, just when he wanted to say some harsh words, he saw a sword light instantly breaking through the sky, instantly tearing the vast sky, and directly slashed his body. Boom! His body suddenly flew out horizontally. Countless sword auras raged in his body, and he was seriously injured in an instant. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood and directly fainted. Then, he was directly teleported out by a white light. This Yi Shiwen is too strong. A master at the fourth heaven of the Transcendence realm actually couldn't even block one move from him. Yeah, although this move is a bit suspicious of a sneak attack, even if it is an open and above-board move, this person probably can't block one move from him. It's just a matter of whether it's earlier or later. If this is the case, then isn't he invincible? In this case, unless it is some top geniuses, otherwise, no one will be his opponent at all. Unfortunately, this time, Yi Shui, Yi Feng, and the others are all in closed-door training. They didn't participate in this competition at all. Otherwise, the collision will definitely be the most brilliant. Still, it doesn't matter. Although they did not come this time, I have heard that some of the ancient and secretive legacies of the Yi family, such as the Martial Ascension Heavenly Sword faction, have sent out their most outstanding disciples. They want to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat in this competition. By doing so, they will be able to obtain resources from the higher-ups. That's true. Although some of these secret inheritances are very old and have a very deep foundation, how can they be compared with our Yi family's all-out training? In the Yi family, in addition to the main family, branch families, and various powerful organizations, there were also various ancient and mysterious inheritances. Under normal circumstances, these ancient and mysterious inheritances would rarely take the initiative to appear in front of the public. However, the descendants that they cultivated were often extremely outstanding among their peers. The inheritances that they obtained were also very outstanding. Some could even be traced back to the time when the entire Yi family had just risen. It was fine if these people didn't come out, but once they appeared, there would often be powerful descendants born. Now is not the most critical time. Many people haven't exposed their true strength yet. At that time, there will definitely be a big battle. Let's not talk about others. Just Yi Xing alone, I heard that he was taken to a secret territory for training. Now that he has come out directly, his goal is to aim for the championship. The final competition will be very fierce. Although the competition had not yet reached the end, some people who had the potential to become the champion had slowly emerged. Yi Shiwen, who had the record of crippling Jiagu Zhenghao, was undoubtedly the most dazzling existence among them. Yi Shiwen naturally knew that the further he went, the more difficult it would become. Many of the geniuses who were still hiding their strength like him would also reveal their absolute strength one after another. The outstanding figures of the younger generation would not be limited to Yi Shui and a few others. He and Yi Xing were just a few targets on the surface. Those hidden masters were not included. It was not clear how many branches of the Yi family were. How could there not be a few geniuses? But it didn't matter. The championship was already in his bag. Anyone who wanted to peep at this championship would be swept into the garbage dump by him one by one. As the competition passed round after round, the probability of encountering those geniuses gradually increased. After Yi Mao rushed through 2 more rounds, he was finally defeated and eliminated. At this time, there were only a few hundred people left from the original team of millions. And Yi Shiwen encountered another tyrannical opponent. It was another powerful opponent from a hidden lineage. A young master was staring at Yi Shiwen with torch-like eyes. He had a calm and relaxed look on his face, which was completely different from the aggressive Yi Qing a moment ago. This was a kind of absolute confidence because of the Pearl of Wisdom. Even if the opponent was a dazzling existence like Yi Shiwen, he still had absolute confidence and indifference. Yi Shiwen, I have heard of your existence. Even Yi Qing was defeated by you before. But don't be too proud, because if Yi Qing's opponent was me, he would definitely not be my opponent. The young master said, my inheritance is quite special. It comes from an ancient god. With that said, A breath rushed out of the top of the young master's head. This breath instantly transformed into a long saber and appeared in his hand. It doesn't matter what kind of genius you are. In front of me, who has the inheritance of the gods, you will not be able to withstand a single blow. Yi Shiwen, remember my name? Yi Chun. That young master held a long blade in his hand and indifferently looked at Yi Shiwen as he said. Chapter 12:07. It doesn't matter what kind of genius you are. In front of me, who has the inheritance of the gods, you will not be able to withstand a single blow. Yi Shiwen, remember my name? Yi Chun. That young master held a long blade in his hand and indifferently looked at Yi Shiwen as he said, The inheritance of the gods? Yi Shiwen wrinkled his brows. He had encountered several similar situations when he was in the true martial world, and all of them were his formidable opponents. They were extremely tyrannical. Moreover, they were merely the inheritances of the legendary deities. This was the first time he had encountered such a statement. In terms of temperament, he was a level higher than Yi Qing. But unfortunately, no matter what kind of god's inheritance you are, I will definitely be the champion today. Yi Shiwen said firmly. If it were not for the stimulation of the 9 revolutions Taishan Golden Pill, he might not care. It did not matter whether he won the championship or not. His purpose was only to attract the attention of the higher-ups, so that those enemies would not find an excuse to kill him so easily. As long as he performed well enough, the higher-ups would not turn a blind eye to him. Just like Yi Qing, who was previously pale under Yi Shiwen's hands. Although he looked so vulnerable in front of Yi Shiwen, would the higher-ups just watch and not take him in and train him? That was simply impossible. The ranking in the competition only determined how many rewards there would be, but whether or not he had potential, or how much potential he had. How could the higher-ups not have any idea? Clang! The long saber in his hand directly tore through the sky with a terrifying saber light. The saber light seemed to split the river of time, as if it would exist forever with the world. The eternal and terrifying saber light cut through the sky. Unlike Yi Qing's previous fierce attack, his saber light only paid attention to one word, overbearing. The saber was the hegemon of the weapons. Other saber principles, whether it was seeking speed or strangeness, were not the authentic saber principles. Only the word overbearing was the essence. Yi Shiwen was very clear about this because he was a saber master. His saber technique combined with his tyrant body was even more fierce and peerless. Ordinary people could not even block his saber. Good saber technique, but it is useless in front of me. Yi Shiwen laughed out loud, and a group of flames suddenly sprang out of his hand, and then quickly shaped into the shape of a long blade in midair. The flames whistled in midair, and burned abnormally exuberantly. Just as Yi Qin's saber light was about to cut Yi Shiwen finally moved. Whoosh! The flaming saber light appeared once again, and the terrifying saber light instantly set the entire sky on fire. Boom! 2 terrifying blade lights collided fiercely in the sky. Both of their blade daos followed the path of the word Overlord. They were extremely powerful and had no intention of retreating at all. It was as if the world had lost its color in front of their blade lights in an instant. Yi Shiwen's flaming blade light became even more ferocious and overbearing. It directly chopped down Yi Qin's blade light, and then rushed towards Yi Qin without losing any momentum. A look of surprise flashed in Yi Qin's eyes. He did not expect that despite all his calculations, he still miscalculated Yi Shiwen's strength. Although it was only a single exchange, he had already felt it. In front of Yi Shiwen, the blade daos that he was so proud of could not gain any upper hand at all. It was easily defeated by Yi Shiwen, proving that Yi Shiwen was more tyrannical than him. He stamped his feet, and his figure retreated frantically. He retreated for dozens of miles, and only then did he barely avoid the slash of Yi Shiwen's flaming saber aura. Boom! The flaming saber aura directly tore a huge crack in the ground. Countless smoke and dust swept up, and sand and stones were flying. The crack was bottomless, and it was unknown whether it was thousands of meters deep or not. Yi Shiwen's saber was so powerful that it could not help but make people's faces change. However, reality did not allow him to think too much. At this time, Yi Shiwen had directly chased after him. The flaming long saber in his hand pointed in the void and drew a line of flames. It looked exceptionally spectacular from afar, but only those who were in the situation could feel how dangerous it was. Yi Shiwen's speed was so fast that he could cover a distance of a few dozen miles in an instant. Before he could react, Yi Shiwen's flaming saber light suddenly appeared in the air, burning the sky as if it had formed a flame domain. In an instant, it had already slashed in front of his face. Yi Chen suddenly roared again and again, urging the Zhen Yuan of his whole body. He was already desperate. If he could not stop Yi Shiwen's saber technique from slashing down, then he might be seriously injured in one move, or even killed in one move. Everyone knew that the attack was fierce, but they did not know that Yi Shiwen's blade daos were not inferior in the slightest, and even more destructive. He himself practiced the hegemon blade daos, and he was very clear that if he was hit by this saber, the consequences would be unimaginable. Whoosh! On his body, an unknown energy swept out in an instant, circle after circle, forming a blade daos domain around him. In an instant, countless saber auras swept out, condensing in midair, and then crazily slashed down towards Yi Shiwen. He did not expect to seriously injure Yi Shiwen, but he wanted to stop his speed. "Break for me!" Yi Shiwen shouted loudly, and the sound wave swept out directly, instantly annihilating the saber auras that wanted to rush over to kill him in midair. These saber auras could not stop Yi Shiwen's footsteps, and almost in an instant, Yi Shiwen had already rushed in front of him. Whoosh! The flaming saber auras drew a dazzling light, dancing in the sky and leaving gorgeous traces. It's over. This Yi Chun is also finished. He is definitely not Yi Shiwen's opponent. At this time, someone almost closed his eyes and could not bear to see this scene. A genius is about to fall in the hands of Yi Shiwen. Is there no one who can stop him from moving forwards? Someone asked. No, it's not over yet. At this time, someone exclaimed loudly at this time. Boom! Yi Shiwen's flaming saber auras, with one slash, directly slashed into a world of nothingness. This was a world of the way of the blade. Everyone took pride in cultivating the way of the blade. From the commoners to the emperors, all of them cultivated the way of the blade. In this world, there were no other martial arts. There was only the way of the blade. In this world, many children began to cultivate blade daos from an early age, and many old people in their twilight years, whose hands were already trembling, still continued to cultivate blade daos. And Yi Shiwen's flaming saber auras directly slashed into this world. In an instant, countless countries in this world were destroyed, as if a saber had slashed into a god's kingdom. A world of supreme blade daos was actually destroyed by one slash, and it was extremely terrifying. Yi Shiwen's flaming saber auras directly broke through this world, directly cutting this world into two pieces. There was also a slight surprise in his heart. Not knowing what kind of blade daos this was, it could actually slash out a blade daos kingdom. This blade daos was really very amazing. Was this the blade daos inheritance of the gods? Yi Shiwen's flaming saber auras still slowed down because of the appearance of this world out of thin air. It did not reach the expected speed, but it was this slight delay that gave Yi Chen time to escape Yi Shiwen's attack. Boom! Yi Shiwen's saber directly blasted on the ground, and another very terrifying crack was slashed out. All of this took a long time to describe, but in fact, it was only in an instant. Yi Chen, who had escaped from Yi Shiwen's hands, was constantly panting at this time. Everything just now was simply too dangerous. Just one slash had forced them into a dead end, vividly showing the domineering and dangerous blade daos. He had never encountered such a situation before. They were both blade daos cultivators. He had always forced others into a dead end with one slash. No one had ever been able to force him into this situation with one slash. Although this was a competition, not a real life and death battle, he also did not know how much strength Yi Shiwen had. If he was cut in half with one slash, he would not even have a place to cry. Huff! 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 The outstanding sound of breathing, accompanied by the continuous rise and fall of his chest, was accompanied by the continuous rise and fall of his chest. In that split second just now, he had consumed more than half of his Zhen Yuan. If he had not suddenly burned more than half of his Zhen Yuan and increased his speed to the extreme, perhaps there was no way for him to escape Yi Shiwen's saber. Through this blade attack, he finally realized that there was still a big gap between his strength and Yi Shiwen's. Yi Shiwen's blade attack had forced him into a desperate situation. It seemed that the strength of the top heavens pride experts of the younger generation was several times more powerful than he had imagined. The corner of his mouth involuntarily flashed a bit of a wry smile. It seemed that he was still a bit of a frog in a well, somewhat underestimating the world's heroes. But to be like this, he was a bit unwilling. He was not willing to give up just like this after seeing just 2 slashes. Immediately, without any hesitation, he directly stood up with his saber and shouted, "Yi Shiwen, you are very strong, but I also do not want to give up. Next, this is my last slash. If you can withstand it, I will directly admit defeat. If not, then don't blame me." The long saber in his hand instantly began to boil with a hum, and suddenly a fierce saber light began to boil. Heaven-breaking 8-step slash. Yi Chen shouted coldly and took a step forward. The momentum of his body leaped up a lot. Yi Shiwen frowned. What kind of martial technique is this? Why is it so strange? But Yi Chen's movements were not finished yet. Step by step, and with each step, the momentum of his body increased a little bit. 8-step slash, not good. Yi Shiwen suddenly narrowed his eyes. The long flame saber in his hand directly boiled and directly rushed towards him, absolutely not giving him the opportunity to finish 8 steps. But at this time, Yi Chen had already sped up his pace and had already completed 8 steps. The momentum of his body had also climbed to an extreme point. Chapter 1208. The aura on Yi Chen's body had completely climbed to the extreme. The boiling blood in his body condensed into an energy pillar that shot into the sky. The long saber in his hand finally moved. It was raised high and expanded in midair. Countless saber auras formed in midair and then condensed into a huge saber aura that slashed down. The terrifying saber chi looked as if it was going to cut the entire world in half. It looked abnormally terrifying. Yi Shiwen spread out his hands. His palms were covered with divinity. It looked like his hands were cast in gold. He directly grabbed the saber aura. Boom! There was a huge and terrifying roar. Countless saber auras suddenly dispersed, sweeping out countless air waves that rolled in all directions. What happened to this saber? Yi Shiwen won't be killed, right? In the billowing smoke, everyone asked. They couldn't penetrate it with their divine telekinesis, so naturally they couldn't see it. Suddenly, there was a muffled sound. A figure instantly flew out from it and slammed into a mountain, directly breaking the mountain and then rolling down from the mountain. Everyone looked intently. Wasn't this person Yi Chen? Although the smoke and dust had yet to dissipate, the outcome was already clear. Sure enough, it didn't take long for the smoke and dust to gradually dissipate. Yi Shiwen stood with his hands behind his back as if he wasn't affected by his saber at all. Fortunately, you're only at the peak of the 5th level of the Transcendence Realm. Otherwise, this saber would be a big problem, Yi Shiwen said lightly. The sky-piercing 8-step slash was indeed very powerful. Each step would result in a huge improvement in strength, especially when he was already at the peak of the 5th level of the Transcendence Realm. Even an ordinary expert at the 6th level of the Transcendence Realm would be seriously injured by this saber. Unfortunately, Yi Shiwen's combat power was already comparable to the peak of the 6th level of the Transcendence Realm. Although such an attack was terrifying, it still couldn't hurt him. Not long after Yi Chen rolled down from the mountain, a white light took him away. All his previous ambitions had vanished into thin air. Yi Shiwen calmly left the world of battle. His face was not red, nor was he out of breath. It was as if this battle couldn't bring any impact to him at all. This Yi Shiwen is too strong. That Yi Chen's combat power is terrifying, especially with the inheritance of the gods. His future development is simply limitless. But even so, He can't compete with Yi Shiwen at all. He can't even make him use his full strength. It's a pity for Yi Chun. If he hadn't met Yi Shiwen, perhaps he would have been able to squeeze into the top 10, or even the top 5. This time, Yi Shui and the others aren't here. It could have been a good opportunity for them to shine and become famous. They also had this idea. Unfortunately, an evildoer like Yi Shiwen appeared out of nowhere. Even if they become famous, they would only become Yi Shiwen's stepping stone. Whether it is the previous Yi Qing or the current Yi Chun, their inheritances are incredible, but in the hands of Yi Shiwen, they are just like playthings. What is Yi Shiwen's origin? What kind of inheritance is this? It is said that Yi Shiwen was originally the bloodline of our Yi family. He was not cultivated by our Yi family. Do you know what inheritance he has? How can he be so powerful? Some people were puzzled. They didn't know where Yi Shiwen came from. How could he be so powerful? It is said that he is the son of the previous Yi Junshan. Yi Junshan? You mean that Yi Shiwen easily defeated Yi Chun, which immediately caused countless people to exclaim. Even among the Yi family higher-ups, there was a lot of discussion about it. Similar. Too similar. They really are father and son. The death of Yi Junshan is a mystery after all. Now that his son is back, I don't know if it is a good thing or a bad thing for our Yi family. This man has unlimited potential. He must not be left alive. These higher-ups also had their own plans. Each of them had a different standpoint. Yi Shiwen didn't care at all. As long as it attracted attention, it was enough. As for whether it was good or malicious, it didn't matter at all. After Yi Chun, Yi Shiwen easily defeated several experts who had already entered the fourth heaven of the Transcendence realm and directly advanced to the top 8. His opponent in the top 8 was also a genius in the early fifth heaven of the Transcendence realm. Although he was not Yi Shiwen's opponent, Yi Shiwen had to sigh. The Yi family really had many geniuses. In addition to Yi Shui and a group of geniuses who had been famous for many years, there were still many young geniuses who were far from being famous waiting to amaze the world. With these geniuses emerging continuously, how could the Yi family not be strong? However, very quickly, everyone's attention was once again focused on him. This was because his opponent in the semifinals was none other than Yi Xing. There were two people who were the most dazzling in this tournament. One was Yi Shiwen. He had defeated many opponents who were thought to be impossible to defeat and had come all the way to where he was now. The other one had already received a lot of attention. He was already a famous genius even before he had returned to the Yi clan to acknowledge his ancestors. After returning to the Yi clan, he had directly broken through the 6th floor of the Martial Essence Tower, and his name had shaken the Yi clan. Although his limelight was overshadowed by Yi Shiwen and Yi Fan later, his strength and talent could not be denied. And now, they finally met in the top 4. They did not meet in the finals, which made many people feel that it was a bit of a pity. Both of them had the potential to win the championship, and either of them could have won the championship. Unfortunately, they met in the top 4. In the eyes of everyone, this was somewhat of a pity. At this time, there were only 4 people left in the huge square. In addition to Yi Shiwen and Yi Xing, there were 2 other young experts who also had extraordinary auras and extraordinary strength. If there was one thing that these 4 people had in common, it was that they had easily defeated all their opponents to get to where they were now. And now, they had finally met. No matter how easily they had defeated their opponents before, they had to defeat their opponents now to have a chance to win the championship. In particular, although they were in the top 4, among the rewards given by the higher-ups, there was a world of difference between the top 3 and the remaining 7 people in the top 10. Not to mention the 9 revolutions Taishian Golden Pill for the first place. The 9 revolutions Taishian Golden Pill alone had overshadowed the value of all the rewards after that. Therefore, everyone had no way out. They could only move forward with all their might and fight for the top 3. Moreover, who was not a genius among geniuses who could make it this far? Each of them had unimaginable strength and ambition. They did not need to work so hard just to fight for the top 3. At that time, their goal was all to win the championship. The 9 revolutions Taishian Golden Pill, Yi Shiwen, It's a pity that you can only go this far." Yi Xing looked at Yi Shiwen and said with a sinister smile on his face. He did not know when Yi Shiwen had become a thorn in his side. Yi Shui and the others were not included. If he wanted to climb to the top among the younger generation, Yi Shiwen was a mountain that was difficult to surpass. "I think it's a pity for you." Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes and did not take Yi Xing's provocation seriously. The 9 Revolutions Taishin Golden Pill was prepared for me. You people also want to covet it? What a joke." Yi Xing smiled coldly and took the lead to control the token and enter the microcosm used for the competition. Yi Shiwen did not say much and directly strode in. Yi Xing had barely entered the microcosm when Yi Shiwen couldn't help but take the initiative to launch an attack. The power of countless stars began to emerge from his hand and set off a circle of ripples. It transformed into a big star hand and slapped down with a loud rumbling sound. This big star hand contained a universe. Countless stars were annihilated and reborn in an instant. The power of rebirth and annihilation turned into a terrifying force that blasted towards Yi Shiwen. Like a star, it instantly fell down and directly suppressed Yi Shiwen. "Star Destroyer," he shouted loudly and directly suppressed Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen's eyes flashed. Compared to 3 months ago, Yi Xing's strength had undergone a fundamental change. Although he had not broken into the 6th level of the Transcendence Realm, his strength was definitely enough to easily defeat 10 of him from 3 months ago. It seemed that he had been diligently cultivating in the past 3 months. Yi Xing did not slack off either. After being taken away by the big shots, he had gained a lot in the secret territory. "Yi Shiwen, although I don't know your strength and I don't know your origin, anyone who dares to stand in my way and prevent me from winning the championship will die." Accompanied by a roar, the star attack was like a tidal wave and overwhelmingly blasted towards Yi Shiwen. At this moment, the qi on Yi Shiwen's body instantly erupted. His clothes fluttered and waves of qi spread out with his body as the center. In the face of the big star hand that blasted down, Yi Shiwen finally moved. A terrifying force boiled in his hand, and countless stars condensed into a huge star in his hand. He directly punched out. 2 stars streaked across the sky, leaving a dazzling mark as the fist and palm collided. Boom! There was a terrifying collision, and countless stars produced dazzling lights. With the fist and the palm as the center, they frantically annihilated in all directions. Wherever they passed, large amounts of space were annihilated. This scene seemed to have returned to the time when the universe had just been born, when the heavens and earth were split apart. Immediately afterward, the shock waves swept in all directions, and the range expanded. It was extremely terrifying. 2 terrifying forces directly impacted on their bodies. Yi Shiwen's body shook slightly, while Yi Xing's body slightly took 2 steps back before he managed to stop. Chapter 1209. The exchange of blows between the two of them just now was almost immediately clear who was superior and who was inferior. An astonished look flashed in Yi Xing's eyes. He was obviously frightened by Yi Shiwen's fighting prowess. Although he hadn't been injured in the previous wave of attacks, it had still forced him to take 2 steps back. However, Yi Shiwen hadn't moved an inch. This in itself was enough to explain some things. The exchange between the two is so terrifying. Sure enough, these 2 people are favored by the heavens. When facing each other, it is impossible for them to defeat each other easily like before and win. Yeah, one of these 2 people is the bloodline of our Yi family, and the other is the illegitimate son of a big shot in our Yi family. Logically speaking, this should not be a match for the local experts of our Yi family, but I don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter they had. They're actually so powerful. It was because they were very clear that compared to the local geniuses, the resources that those who were wandering outside could not be compared at all. It was more difficult for them to cultivate. They could not even compare to the branch families, let alone the geniuses of the main family. If it was Yi Xing, it would have been fine. A long time ago, people had speculated that he was the illegitimate son of an important figure in the Yi family. Although he had been wandering outside, in fact, this important figure had been secretly providing him with resources for his cultivation. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to have such a cultivation base. Yi Shiwen really emerged from a crack in a rock. He had nothing to do with the main family and the branch families of the Yi family. It was really shocking that such a person could cultivate to such a level. I'm afraid that ordinary warriors at the 5th level of the law manifestation realm would be directly killed by a punch in front of them. They're not a match for these two people at all. Could it be that they have already entered the 6th level of the law manifestation realm? Many people had their own guesses, but before they could think more, the battle had already begun. However, this time, it was Yi Shiwen who launched the first attack. Swoosh! Yi Shiwen's figure almost turned into a ball of golden light and disappeared instantly. Then, he appeared in front of Yi Xing in an instant. He directly spread out his palm, and countless starlights flickered in it. They turned into rays of light, forming a huge cage that slammed down on Yi Xing from the sky. 1,000 stars dominating palm. It's just a small trick, Yi Xing said disdainfully. I'm going to be the champion this time. Whoever dares to stand in my way will die. He roared, and his entire body exploded. His hands were like a pair of iron claws, and he ruthlessly tore through the air. Endless starlight boiled from the gaps between his fingers. Swoosh! Yi Shiwen smashed down, and the starlight cage was immediately torn apart. It couldn't envelop his body at all. Then, a big hand mixed with countless golden lights pierced through the vast sky and grabbed towards Yi Shiwen. Even the mountains and the seas would explode if Yi Shiwen was grabbed. This was a hand that could chase the stars and seize the moon. Poochie! Yi Shiwen's reaction was even faster. He slashed down with his flaming saber technique and crushed the big starlight hand in the air. Then, Yi Shiwen fell down at an even faster speed. His body fell down like a meteor and instantly rushed towards Yi Xing's direction. Die for me! Meteor explosion! Yi Shiwen shouted, and his 5 fingers clenched into a fist. Countless starlight condensed into his fist at a terrifying speed. The brilliant brilliance was like a meteor streaking across the vast sky. Countless starlight boiled, and the power of the stars condensed in his hand. It even condensed into a terrifying storm and instantly swept down. It formed a huge starlight storm, and terrifying energy fluctuations spread out in an instant. Even many experts who were watching the battle from the outside could feel the terrifying aura, let alone Yi Xing, who was standing in front of Yi Shiwen. An unimaginable look of horror flashed in his eyes. He couldn't imagine how Yi Shiwen could possess such a terrifying move. Although he couldn't figure it out, it didn't stop his body from instinctively running away. Where are you going? Yi Shiwen shouted, and immediately chased after him. How could he let him escape? Boom! The meteor in Yi Shiwen's hand exploded in an instant. The energy from the explosion was condensed by Yi Shiwen, and then blasted out in the air. The energy from the explosion blasted out a dazzling light, piercing the vast sky, and then slammed into Yi Xing's body. Although Yi Xing wanted to escape, he couldn't keep up with Yi Shiwen's speed. Boom! Yi Xing's body was blasted directly by the meteor explosion, and it almost disintegrated on the spot. This time, the meteor explosion had drained 1/10 of Yi Shiwen's qi. It should be known that Yi Shiwen had a huge amount of qi after integrating with the Star Beast. It was obvious how terrifying this meteor explosion was to be able to drain 1/10 of his qi in one go. Moreover, it was improved by him. It was a trump card that he wouldn't use easily under ordinary circumstances. Yi Xing took this blow head-on, and for a moment, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. His body almost disintegrated on the spot, and his face smashed through several mountains before he managed to stop his retreat. At this time, his body was already a mess, and it could even be said that he was almost killed by Yi Shiwen. This move is too terrifying. Many people, including some law manifestation realm experts who had been cultivating for thousands of years, still felt a chill when they saw this move. They subconsciously compared themselves to Yi Shiwen, only to find that if it was them, they would definitely be dead. It would be useless even if it was anyone else. I didn't expect that this would be an epic battle. I didn't expect that the outcome of this battle would be decided so easily. Yi Xing is not Yi Shiwen's match at all. He was defeated in just a moment. It's not that Yi Xing is too weak, it's that Yi Shiwen is too strong. Originally, I thought that the two of them would continue to test each other until they were confident of winning. Who would have thought that Yi Shiwen would suddenly make a killing move? The chi fluctuation of this move is so huge, I think Yi Shiwen must have used up all his strength. If this move can't kill Yi Xing, the one who will die will be Yi Shiwen himself. Speaking of which, both of them are of the same bloodline, but Yi Shiwen is decisive and ruthless. Obviously, he has more experience than Yi Xing. That's right. If it were me, I absolutely wouldn't dare to use all of my true essence to make this move. Because if there was an accident, or if I didn't kill him, then I would be the one to die. His courage is truly astonishing. However, they obviously didn't know that Yi Shiwen's chi, after integrating with the Star Beast bloodline, was 10 times, or even dozens of times that of ordinary people. That move just now seemed to have used up all his strength. But in fact, his combat power was still maintained at 80% or 90% of his peak state. It would not take long for him to recover to his peak state under the treatment of Phoenix regeneration. For others, it would require the courage to fight for their lives, but it was not the case for Du Ta. Even so, he rarely made a killing move as soon as he came up. He would usually do so after testing the waters. Yi Shiwen's figure fell and landed not far away from Yi Xing. He frowned slightly because he found that Yi Xing was not directly transported out. What did that mean? He still had the strength to fight? Sure enough, as Yi Shiwen guessed, Yi Xing's figure began to move slowly, and the injuries on his body also recovered little by little. The aura on his body turned into ripples and spread out. Almost just a little bit more, and I would have been killed by you. Yi Xing's icy voice sounded as though it had emerged from hell. I had originally thought that no one would be able to threaten me in this competition. Congratulations, you have successfully enraged me. His eyes were cold, and the blood flowing down from the top of his head intensified the coldness. Yi Shiwen, you really don't know what's good for you. I had intended to spare your life, but you actually dared to treat me like this. Today, no one can save you. Yi Xing's figure was becoming more and more terrifying. In his body, some kind of seal seemed to have been opened. His aura, which was originally at the 5th level of the Law Phase realm, broke through in an instant and entered the 6th level of the Law Phase realm. He broke through. Everyone's eyes widened, and everyone could see that he did not use some secret technique to forcefully increase his cultivation level. In other words, he was originally at the 6th level of the Law Phase realm, but he was hiding his strength before. No wonder he was so arrogant and actually said that he was going to be the champion. He did have such confidence. Compared to the 4th and 5th levels of the Transcendence realm that these people had displayed previously, his strength was obviously much stronger than theirs. The strength of the 6th level of the Law Phase realm was enough to sweep away all the experts at the 5th level of the Law Phase realm. 6th level of the Law Phase realm. He is actually at the 6th level of the Law Phase realm. At this time, countless people shouted. The 6th level of the Transcendence realm was enough to be at the top of the younger generation. If Yi Shui and the others didn't make any progress, they would probably be suppressed by Yi Xing. It was also enough to show that Yi Xing had probably obtained some great benefits during his closed-door cultivation in the 3-month box. Otherwise, it would be impossible for his cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds. I didn't expect it to be like this. This time, Yi Shiwen is in trouble. At this time, the people of the Lias City branch family in the spectator seats widened their eyes at this time, and their expressions changed all of a sudden. Although they were very confident in Yi Shiwen, and Yi Shiwen had a record of defeating Jiagu Jinghao before, Jiagu Jinghao was only at the 5th level of the Law Phase realm. He was not an opponent of the same level as Yi Xing, who was at the 6th level of the Law Phase realm. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.